Our first presentation is the Ronnie Gustafson Inspiration Award. The Hall of Fame's desire to extend its variety of recognition and honors into the inspiration category resulted in the introduction in 1996 of the Ronnie Gustafson Inspiration Award. The Inspiration Award is named after its first recipient, Ronnie Gustafson, who played football and track at Lyons High School despite losing an arm and shoulder in a tractor accident at the age of 9. This year's recipient of the Ronnie Gustafson Inspiration Award is Keith Lodwig. We've all heard the expression, life starts at fill in the blank. For Keith Lodwig, we are still not sure what age that is. It seems as though life is starting anew for Keith at every corner as he continues to break world record after world record in masters swimming. A former state high school champion at Omaha-Benson and an all-Big 8 performer for the University of Nebraska, the ageless 67-year-old Lodwig has been called the Michael Phelps of masters swimming. He truly inspires us all to remember that age is only a number. Here to accept his award is Keith Lodwig.
Thank you. It all started back in high school at Benson High when they didn't have a team and there was just two of us, and I appreciate that, the high school and the high school coaching. And then Nebraska, with Cal Bentz was there, we started a team and we performed there. And then when you got out of college or you didn't have anything to do, you couldn't make a dime at swimming. And of course I started my company, I called it All-American Fundraising. It was easy because I had All-American plaques. I just photographed that so I didn't have to pay a logo fee. And it worked out real well. But after that, you didn't know if you wanted to continue swimming, and my kids were in sports. My son played basketball, and my daughters played other sports. My one daughter, Tasha, she got into horse or equestrian, and that wasn't as cheap as owning a Speedo and a pair of goggles, and that was pretty expensive. But since then, I decided to keep it up, and I've been swimming now I'm 69. I've been swimming since I was 9 years old. And it gets a little tiring, but 4,000 yards every morning at 6 a.m. I live in Sarasota most of the time, and that helps. And in fact, one good thing about this today is I get to miss out on the Siesta Key. I swim a 1K. I'm a sprinter. 1K is long enough. It's right along Siesta Key, and we always look for sharks, but that's going on as we speak right now, so I missed that, which is good. And but I really appreciate what Nebraska has done in swimming, and I still carry it on, and I swim every day, and it keeps it up. And at least I didn't play football, where I have some friends that played football and they can't walk or they have replacement knees, and I just got bad shoulders and bad everything else, but just keep going. But the thing is, I just keep it going, and that's the best thing. But I want to thank you all for the award and appreciate it very much.
Maybe missing swimming with sharks isn't such a bad thing. With the premise that strong family principles represent much of the basis for high school athletes, and as an area that current school programs can benefit from, such an annual example, the Fisher Family Award was established in 1999. The award is named in honor of the family of Joe and Viola Fisher, family of St. Edward, whose 6 boys and 3 girls excelled in every aspect and every level of sports. Being honored this year with the Fisher Family Award is the John and Connie Makovica family of Brainerd. Almost all Nebraskans recognize the name Makovica. After all, Jeff and Joel were both key players on the University of Nebraska national championship football teams. But anyone in the Brainerd area that competed in high school sports against East Butler will tell you, don't forget about John, Connie, Jennifer, Justin, and Jordan. All 7 of John and Connie's children have made an indelible mark on high school sports in Nebraska, including track, football, basketball, and baseball. As a group, they have been honored as state champions, all-conference, all-state, and all-American. Here to serve as spokesperson for the Makovica family is Jeff Makovica.
Thank you. Let me start out tonight, or this afternoon, introducing my family, the most important group of people in my life, and I know my brothers and sisters would say the same. So beginning right here, this is my family, my wife Tracy, and my daughter Cameron, my daughter Ava, my daughter Jaden, and my youngest Claire in my wife's arms. And then there's my mother Connie, and my father, John. Next to John is my sister, Jennifer, with her family, Derek, Trevor, Brendan, Connor, and Corbin, and her husband, Royce, is next to Corbin. And then next is Justin, next to his fiancée, Lauren Tonages. And then Jordan is next to Justin with his girlfriend, Brittany Newman. And my maternal grandmother, Eleanor Commenda, is next. And then there's Joel. You all recognize Joel. He seems to be on the radio and TV everywhere nowadays. So that's Joel. And this is my family. And like I said, so fitting to receive an award like this. Not only because Joel and I had the good fortune of knowing Coach Ken Fisher spent some time around the stadium when we were there, and we got to know him as a good father, a good brother, a good son, and a great man. And he kept family close to his heart. So the award is aptly named for a great family, and we really appreciate the opportunity to accept this great award on behalf of our family. When I was thinking about what I was going to say, I know we have a couple, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. I just wanted to relay a story. When I was in high school, I remember I was either a 7th or an 8th grader, and I was going, my dad would never, he was a great track, baseball, and football player for then Kearney State. And we never knew much about Dad's career. He never talked about it. But one morning, I was down in our cellar, and there was this old dresser, and it had all of his old clippings and some of his old letters from college. And I opened up I found this stack of letters, and they were from NFL football teams. But one of them was from the Miami Dolphins. I think it was in 1970, offering him a contract to play for the Dolphins. And that 70s team eventually became the 1972 Dolphins, which everyone knows how great that team was. And I saw this, and I had no idea that my dad had the opportunity to play in the NFL. And so I approached him, and I said, you know, what happened with this? You know, he said, here's what happened. He said, I had graduate school, a letter from graduate school acceptance, and then this contract in the NFL, and I just got married, and I had our first baby on the way, and I just decided, I said, moving to Florida out of Nebraska with my new wife, that may have changed me, and my family may have grown up different. So he chose the route of school for his family, and that tells you a lot about who my parents were. All their lives, they focused on us kids. We were never, that's Claire. We were never pushed into sports, but we were instilled with a commitment to excellence. And that didn't mean that we had to be excellent. We had to be committed to being excellent. And they taught us from day one when we started academics or sports that if you were going to play the game, you better play it 110%. If not, don't do it. And that's one of the greatest gifts they gave to us that is continuing to carry us throughout our lives. Because they also taught us that sports will end at some point for all of us. For me, it ended after college. For my brother Joel, he played and started 5 more years in the NFL. For my sister Jenny, it ended after college. Justin started college football for a bit and then decided to continue to medical school. So he's a second-year med student at UNMC. and Jordan is currently a baseball player on the Creighton's baseball team. So it'll end at each point different for all of us, and for my kids, sports will end someday, and our parents taught us that sports isn't everything, but it is a big part, and you can use sports in whatever you do going forward. So I just want to again thank you for this award. My family appreciates it, and for us, this is probably one of the most important awards that we could all share together, because we did it as a family. And I know my mom is especially grateful, because we had to actually get together and do a family photo for the, and I don't think we've ever done that before. So it was especially a treat for our family to get together and be forced to do a photo. And so thank you again. Congratulations to all the other inductees today, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you.
There are those very rare special moments that occur in Nebraska high school sports that the High School Hall of Fame wants to make sure are remembered and recognized as great moments in Nebraska high school sports. This year, the Hall of Fame gives special team. It's one thing to go undefeated in football, but quite another to also go unscored upon. The 1936 undefeated team did just that, not allowing an opponent inside the 10-yard line. They outscored their opponents that year 128-0, outyarded them 2,313 to 728, and outdowned them 114-34. A truly incredible season and great moment in Nebraska high school sports. Here to serve as spokesperson for that 1936 Grand Island team is Joe Cutlass, the current athletic director at Grand Island High School.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here today on behalf of Grand Island Senior High as the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame honors the Grand Island Senior High State Championship football team of 1936. It was just mentioned, this legendary team was not only undefeated, but also untied and unscored upon. In fact, no team penetrated the Islander 10-yard line all season. The big win of the year was against Class A powerhouse Lincoln High, a 6-0 Islander victory. The Lynx lost only 2 games over a 5-year period, and both of those losses were to Grand Island. A record 3,000 people saw the Islanders defeat Lincoln High in November to win the state title. Over the course of the 36th season, the Islanders outscored their opponents 128-0. The Islanders were led in 1936 by all-state performers Royal King Kong Kaler and Joe Phelan, who was later killed in action in the Second World War. From this Grand Island team, King Kong Kaler, Dean Clausen, who is with us today, and Don Waddick all went on to play for the University of Nebraska Lincoln Cornhuskers. Kaler also played in the NFL with the Packers and the Steelers. Joining us today are 2 members of the 1936 team. Dean Clausen. Dean played basketball and track at Grand Island Senior High along with football. He attended the University of Nebraska after graduation. He later served his country during the Second World War, spending 25 months in China, Burma, and India. He returned to UNL after the war and got his teaching degree, and then coached and taught for 35 years, including 26 at Lincoln High. He was named to the Lincoln High Athletic Hall of Fame in 2007. He continued his military service for 27 years and retired as a battalion commander and lieutenant colonel. Mr. Dean Clausen. Sid White Another member of the 1936 team, I believe, is with us this afternoon. I know he purchased tickets, and I talked to him just last week, and they had planned to come, but I have not seen him here today. I hope he is here. In addition to being involved in 3 sports at senior high, Sid was the editor of the Islander newspaper. He graduated from Hastings College, where he played football, basketball, and tennis. Sid enlisted in the Navy during World War II and became a Lieutenant JG. Sid landed at Normandy on D-Day, commanding an LCT ship with 4 Sherman tanks aboard. Sid worked for many years for Kansas, Nebraska Natural Gas. Mr. Sid White. The 1936 team achieved legendary status in their day, and that legend lives on today. These undefeated and untied warriors went on to serve their country at war and then their schools and communities at home. We are very proud and honored to call them Islanders.
Danielle LEMEK's 4-year dominance in girls' Class C golf competition is our second great moment in sports being recognized today. The Doniphan High School graduate is one of only 2 girl golfers in the state to win 4 consecutive state championships. In fact, during her entire career, Danielle lost only 1 time. In her undefeated junior season, no one came within 10 strokes of Danielle. Then in her senior year, she capped off her brilliant high school career with a record low round of 67 and her 4th state title. Here to accept the award is Danielle's father, Scott LEMEK. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Danny couldn't be here today. She's with her college golf team, Bradley University in Indianapolis, preparing for the Butler University invite, which starts tomorrow. I talked to her on the phone before we came, and she really wishes she could be here, and she really appreciates this award and recognition. If anybody knows Danielle, she's not the kind of person that would toot her own horn. We heard a few of the things that she accomplished. She had a couple other records. She had a low 36, whole score of 142, 200 par as a junior, and then once again her senior year 67. Her second 18-hole round. Along with her 4 high school state championships, she also won 4 consecutive Nebraska Golf Association's 6 course records in the state of Nebraska, the last one being her very last round of high school golf where she shot a 64 at El Dorado Hills in Norfolk, Nebraska. She appreciates this, we appreciate this. Hope she can continue through college to provide some more great moments in sports. Thank you very much.
The Dominant Dynasties Award was created in recent years by the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame as a way of honoring schools whose teams in a sport or sports excelled far above and beyond the norm for over a long period of time. This year's Dominant Dynasty recognition goes to David City St. Mary's football team from 1953 to 1960. With the school just being built in 1953, the first 2 years of the dynasty were with underclassmen, a 6-man junior high team the first year, and freshmen and sophomores the second season. From 1955 to 1960, David City St. Mary's compiled a record of 46, 3, and 1. After an undefeated season in 6-man football in 1955, St. Mary's switched to an 11-man football and had 3 more unbeaten seasons in 1956, 59, and 60. Here to serve as spokesman for the David City St. Mary's football team is former team member John Kirby.
David City, Nebraska is a stone's throw away from Brainerd, and we are all fans of the Makovichka family. Laverne Torzon, who is on the bottom of the list as an athlete, is a good friend. He played pro football in New York, and I was fortunate enough to be with the Giants for 2 years, so we're also a fan of his. I wish to thank my wife, Mary Sue, for helping me put stuff together. St. Mary's Parish in David City is a small Catholic community that in 1952 decided to initiate construction on a new high school for the St. Mary's campus. The grade school had been in existence since somewhere late in the 1800s. Thus, the St. Mary's Knights were born. David City is on Highway 15 as one of the main highways in Nebraska when UNL plays on Saturday. As Mr. Rose said, the first 2 seasons record of 11-4-1, and 11 was an indicator of what was to come. I'm going to introduce some players, and then I'm going to make some fast comments about team years, and we'll be out of here. 1955 was an unusual year because our senior class was actually all juniors, and they had a 9-win and 0-loss year. And from that, I'm starting out, I'm going to show you how good I am. All-state from that first team was Robert Rowe. Would you step forward? Step forward, Robert Rowe. I know how to pick them. Seniors in the first year, 56, Kenneth Dill was All-State. Step forward. William Eisenberg. Kenneth Pohl. Robert Rowe gets a repeat. Kenneth Pohl. And a junior named Max Sofel was All-State. Step forward. In 1957, we'll start off and Max Sofel was All-State a second time. Jim Pitts, step forward. He is in the Hall of Fame as a coach from the year 2007 for whoever's keeping track of the alumni around here. We have Kenneth Reck, Gene Reisdorf. Seniors in 58, Dave Burkle, Art Mastera, Bill Pitts, All-State. Can't say enough about him. 59, senior, James Rowe, All-State. He might have been the littlest one. John Kirby, junior All-State. Don Swoboda, junior All-State. Denny Kirby. 1960, Wilbur Gene Coleman, All-State. He was wide enough to take care of defense in 2 holes. Repeat All-State Denny Kirby. Denny last year was inducted into the Wayne State Football Hall of Fame for several rushing records that he still holds. Jim Mastera, Dan Reisdorf, Jim Smith, repeat All-State, Don Swoboda, Bill Vobro, and Gerald Vodova. I think everyone's standing forward. Continuing. At the end of the last season of football, 1960 season, St. Mary's, the local Banner Press, I believe they were part of the AP back then, published an article that said, Knights' record seldom if ever equaled in state. I have some excerpts and then we'll be done. 1955 Class C 6-man football championship title. 1956, 8 wins, 0 losses, 233 points, opponent 54. We were second in Class C 11-man football. 1957, 5 wins, 2 losses, 1 tie. And this was the year of the Asiatic flu. Those that won shouldn't have won, and those that didn't win were the ones that were supposed to win, and people were canceling schedules. It was a rotten year. 1958, 7 wins, 1 loss, 192 points versus opponent 7. State champions in Class C 11-man football. 59, 8 wins, 0 losses, 203 points versus opponents 26. State champions again. 1960, the last season, 9 wins, 0 losses. This is good. 342 points versus opponent 7. State champions, Class C 11-man football. In 6 seasons, that's 3 losses. I'd take that record any day. In summary, you just heard of the football success of St. Mary's. There's a little bit more. The class of 60 and 61 won the state Class C champion track meet. And due to this winning record, our coach, Gene Pillen, who was originally from Platte Center, was named Coach of the Year in 60 and 61. Last, we want to thank our cheerleaders and fellow students, fans, including 70-some business sponsors, our parents, and all our teachers who gave us their best tough love. And most of all, we want to thank and be appreciative to the High School Sports Hall of Fame, and let them know that we are very, very, very humble in wanting you to know we really appreciate the title Dominant Dynasty. Thank you.
I just want to let you guys know, John says the helmets and pads are in the back. Strap it up, be ready for practice at 7. Well, now it's time to honor the coaches who are being inducted today as part of the Hall of Fame's class of 2012. They are being recognized and honored for at least 20 years of high school coaching in which they achieved special goals with their respective teams. Our first coach being honored today is Steve Morgan. In his 38 years at Ogallala High School, Morgan coached volleyball, golf, basketball, and trap shooting. It was in volleyball where Steve left his biggest legacy, highlighted by the fact that he had 38 consecutive winning seasons. During that span were 29 conference championships, including 24 in a row, 25 trips to the state high school tournament, 4 state runner-up finishes and state titles in 1975, 1983, and 2000. Morgan has received numerous coaching honors, including being named the Omaha World Herald and Lincoln Journal-Star Coach of the Year in 2001. Here to accept his award is Steve Morgan.
It's an honor to be here, and I certainly have some thank yous to hand out. The Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame, Coach Terry Pettit, Buck Edwards, Jody Rhodes, and so many more who helped me with my 40-plus year career. I am so honored to receive the Nebraska Hall of Fame Award. There are so many dedicated athletes and coaches across the state, and this award is very special to me, my family, and the community of Ogallala. I never thought that I'd receive such a fortunate award or honor, but as any coach knows, it starts with the kids, and it's really all about the kids. I spent my entire life helping develop young athletes prepare for competition on many levels, and even more important, the game of life. Okay, so here's some words of wisdom from a few athletes I have had the pleasure of working with. And I got several hundred of these cards when I retired from teaching a few months ago. But these are really special athletes because they're 3rd and 4th graders. And I got to read this to you. We start there, don't we? Isn't that what our life is all about? 1, I will miss you, Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan, it was sad to hear you go. I almost cried. Jordan. Thank you, Mr. Morgan, for always being there for us. I'll miss you. I love you. Mr. Morgan, please don't sleep in because we can't. Love, Kaylee. Couple more. It was. I hope you enjoy it. I think this is why you want to quit. It's because you just want to sleep in. Love, Queenie. And my favorite, Dear Mrs. Morgan, please don't let Mr. Morgan sleep in because we don't get to. If you could wake him up at 5:45 every morning, we would really appreciate it. Miss you very much. And again, that's why I've been in it for 41 years, because of kids like that. How do I thank those hundreds of athletes, the assistant coaches, Ogallala schools? And for me, it starts with my family. And without them, this day would never have happened. My son, Ryan, my beautiful daughters, Mandy and Lindsay. They are my hunting partners, fishing partners, problem solvers, motivators, always there for me, and the true love and joy of my life. I never want this to go unsaid. There are no words to express how much you kids mean to me, and God sent me a blessing, and that was you. I'm almost done with this part. God sent me a gift, my beautiful wife, Kate. I can never thank you enough. Okay, that was tough. And I love them all very much. And they are my whole career right there. But all of a sudden, a California girl and a Nebraska farm boy came into our lives. So now I have a beautiful daughter-in-law, Kelly Larson, and a top-shelf son-in-law, Jeff Nodlinski, and we're thrilled to have them join the Morgan family. Some of the highlights are memories of my coaching career. Two gentlemen from Ogallala and myself, the late Jim Falcon and Dick Lundgren, did the very first NTV broadcast of Big 8 volleyball tournament in Columbia, Missouri. We covered Husker volleyball for the very first time on television, and that was a big moment to have somebody out in western Nebraska live TV and do the first Husker game ever. I learned about the sport of volleyball. I wanted to be a football coach so bad, but I learned about the sport of volleyball when I got drafted for Vietnam. Lieutenant Colonel now, Ted Theobar, was drafted at that time. He was a private, just like me. But I didn't know that he tried out for the United States Olympic men's volleyball team, and he was cut. So once we got through the basic training, AIT, reception, and all that, I told him what a wussy sport volleyball was, and he told me, why don't you come to the gym? And we didn't really have much of a gym, but that's where I learned my volleyball and got my start and my love for the sport. 38 of my athletes went on to play in all-star games. I was very proud of that. Somewhere now between 70 and 80 of my athletes have gone on to play college vol, 10 in Division I, including Angie Oxley, University of Nebraska at Lincoln. My daughters playing for me was a huge memory for me. Mandy was there for my 500th win, and I got to put a state championship medal around her neck, and Lindsay played for me when I got my 600th win, and Lindsay is now my assistant coach. My wife and I have the very first patent on a volleyball machine when that was just starting in the 70s. When I took it down to the University of Nebraska at Lincoln to have Terry Pettit try it out, Terry said it was too powerful. And I got a note and an email from him the other day. He said it really needed to be shipped over to Afghanistan to use as a secret weapon against the Al-Qaeda. So my wife and I patented a couple other items in volleyball, and believe it or not, and she's still beautiful today. She was a model for sports rules book for Nebraska, and I wasn't going to say that, but I will hear about it later. I've been blessed with many athletes with a passion for the game and who are willing to work hard, which enabled us to never have a losing season in 39 years, and it goes back to this. These cards right here, these little kids, where you get to start out the fundamentals of any sport and the life lessons we learn. Thank you to the Nebraska Coaches Association Hall of Fame group and to my family. God bless you.
Well, if you come back to this event next year, you'll see me wearing a shock collar, because Roger Berry, who does so much work on putting this together, realized I skipped ahead one spot. So next time he'll just shock me before I get started, and then I'll get back to the right spot. We do have more coaches to honor, but we want to go back, and we do want to honor our official for this year, because each year, the Nebraska Sports Hall of Fame does honor official or officials who have been especially outstanding in their contributions to uphold the rules of the game. Our inductee this year is Joe Silverman, an established football and basketball referee in West Virginia before being stationed at the Lincoln Air Base during World War II. The Marshall University graduate worked the Nebraska State basketball tournament for the first time in 1943. Silverman worked more tournaments later in the 1940s and 50s. He received the Clarence Swanson Memorial Award from the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame in 2007. Here to accept the award on behalf of the late Joe Silverman, who just passed away this past week at 102 years old, is his close friend, Dan Brown.
I want you all to know that's not the first time I've been passed over. Okay. It's truly a privilege and an honor to be here and accept Joe's induction on his behalf. My freshman year at the University of Nebraska, athletes were eligible for varsity athletics, excuse my voice, because of the Korean War. And when I arrived at fall camp, our backfield coach, Tony Grant Davis, called me in and told me the gentleman who had agreed to sponsor me and my education had run into some business difficulties and could not contribute, but not to worry, others were being interviewed. The next day I got a call to report to his office and go down and meet my new sponsor. We drove to Globe Laundry and the secretary showed us into Joe's office. And Coach Davis introduced me and he left. Joe asked me about my home, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and did I know about Dakota Laundry? And I said, yes, I worked there 2 summers. He said, well, those laundries are owned by my wife's family. He also asked me about my major and what position I played. And I told him business administration and quarterback. He said, you're going to be mighty busy with school, quarterback meetings, practices, and study. He said, do you have a girlfriend? I said, no. Regardless, your schedule is going to be very tight. Why don't you come down on Thursdays and we'll have lunch and stay in touch? I said, that would be fine. That was some 61 years ago. And we have remained the best of friends all these years. We've gotten together many times here in Lincoln at the Orange Bowl in 1955, other bowl games, also out in California. And we usually call each other 3 or 4 times a month. This has been going on for 61 years. I came back 5 years ago to introduce Joe when he was inducted into the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame. But my appendix ruptured on the flight to Omaha, and I spent 10 days in the hospital at Creighton University. I never did get to Lincoln, but they inducted Joe anyway. The misfortune of the gentleman that was originally going to sponsor me turned out to be a great bit of Irish luck for me. Joe is the absolute finest example of a human being I've ever had the good fortune to meet, and God bless his soul. Thank you.
Now let's continue to honor our coaches. Our next recipient is Rich Olson. Rich's long coaching career included stops at 7 different high schools. His longest stint was a 20-year run at Millard South, where his girls' basketball teams made 15 state appearances. They reached the state finals 5 times and won the state title 3 times. In 2005, Rich returned to his alma mater, Lincoln Northeast High School, where his girls' basketball team won a state title in his first season and made the state tournament appearance the following 2 years. Rich was named Coach of the Year by the Omaha World Herald in 1996 and was inducted into the Lincoln Northeast High School Athletic High School Hall of Fame in 2000. Here to accept his award is Rich Olson. Good to see you again, Rich.
Thank you. This is both humbling and intimidating all at once. I am so appreciative. Excuse me. This transcends wins and losses, championships and trophies. For me, it is all about people. It's about principals and athletic directors who took a chance on me. People like Jack Hallstrom, Charlie Rush, John Lammel. People like Neil Nannon, Aldi Johnson, Wally McNaught, Ed Johnson, and Larry Ribble. Kind of sounds like the Mount Rushmore of coaching right there. Dale Snook, who will be honored here, let me come to his coaching class at the University of Nebraska even when I wasn't registered. It's about parents who entrusted me with the most important thing in their lives. It's about players like my friend Bill Klaus, who is here, who was captain of my first team ever. Players who bought into what I was trying to teach. It's about 3 kids. The tough part. It's about 3 kids, Jared, Kendra, and Drew, whose dad was more like Robert Knight than Robert Young. It's more like Bobby Knight than Father Knows Best. Kids who made an impossible situation easy so that I could coach. It is certainly about a wife who is the epitome of coaching. She takes what is given to her and does the best she can with it. Olinda is a woman who is the greatest example of commitment, determination, and never give up that a coach could ever offer his players. It's about those people.
Our next coach honoree is Edward Scotty Orcutt. 28 of Orcutt's 33 years of coaching were spent as basketball and baseball coach at Omaha Benson High School. Scotty's basketball teams were consistently among the best in the state, finishing as state runner-ups a total of 6 times. Despite losing in districts in 1961, Omaha Benson was voted #1 by the Omaha World Herald. Orcutt's baseball teams were also consistently great, winning or sharing the intercity title 4 times and finishing as state runners-up twice. In 1983, Orcutt was inducted into the Omaha Benson High School Hall of Fame. Here to accept the award on behalf of his late father is Edward Orcutt, Jr.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame Committee for the induction of my father, Edward Scotty Orcutt. This is a great honor for him. I want to thank my family for being here, my wife, Karen, and my sister, Janine, and her husband. Thanks go to the players who played for Scotty in Farnham, Nebraska, which was his first job, Omaha Underwood High School, and especially Benson High School, where he coached for 28 years. These players, along with the other coaches through those years, were the ones that helped Scotty achieve this special honor. Thanks go to the coaches, players, and umpires and staff of the Orcutt Cullen Baseball All-Star Game for the past 40 years, as well as the American Legion Post #1 for sponsoring the teaching career at Benson High and Farnham High School, his first high school job. All of them speak highly of how he taught them values and work ethic in life. His accomplishments were many. I want to congratulate the inductees being accepted into the Hall of Fame today. They deserve that induction also. It's a great honor for our family to accept this award for Scotty. Thank you all for attending today and have a safe trip home.
Our next coach being honored today is Del SCHOENFISH. Following 5 years as basketball coach at Valentine High School, Del moved to Cambridge, where his coaching career spanned 4 decades. His career boys basketball record is 322 wins and 231 losses. His team won the state title in 2004 and was a state runner-up in 1977. As boys golf coach at Cambridge for 39 years, Del's teams won 3 state titles, 10 conference championships, and qualified for state 22 Association of the Year in both basketball and golf. Here to accept his award is Del SCHOENFISH.
I want to thank, first of all, the High School Hall of Fame Foundation Committee for organizing this event again. They've done a very nice job. in listening to the speakers that have spoken before, and I'm sure the speakers that will speak after, each one has talked about a certain kind of success that they've had. Whether it's Steve Morgan's little kids, that surely is classified as success. Some are talking about won and lost records. Some will talk about other types of things, relationships that they've had with other people. These are all types of successes. But as I listen to this, I get the idea that success means a lot of different things to different people. It's success sometimes that mean different things to different people. It reminds me of a story of a guy and a gal that met one time, and they kind of got interested in each other, and they talked about going out, and after a couple of weeks they started going out with each other. And finally the guy says to the gal, he says, you know, before we get too serious with this, maybe we should have set some ground rules. You know, I've got some habits, so we should tell something about each other. I've got some habits probably that you know, most people can't tolerate. First of all, he says, I'm a golf addict. As I go ahead and I subscribe to 3 golf magazines, I watch the Golf Channel just continually. He says, I have a golf Nintendo game. I go ahead and play golf every weekend that I can. He says, a lot of people are not going to be able to tolerate that. And so she says, well, that's good to know. But by the same token, she says, you know, that's good that we're doing this. She says, I may have something also that, you know, that probably not a lot of people know. Well, he says, what is it? He said, she said, for 5 years, I've been a hooker. Well, he stopped and he took a step back and he says, I think if we change the grip on your left hand, we can straighten that out. For every amount of success that we have, obviously there's a great number of people that stand behind that success. And I want to acknowledge some of those people today. I want to thank my parents, first of all. You have to understand, I grew up on a little dirt farm in South Dakota. We didn't have a whole lot, but my mother and father were very diligent in teaching us the values of Christianity, the value of hard work. And these are some of the things that I think are useful in the field of coaching. My dad was relatively stern, but by the same token, he always gave us choices. One of them was, you can take it or leave it. Another type of choice, you know, he gave us, you know, it's either my way or the highway. So I learned, you know, pretty soon in my life that these are probably going to serve me well down the road. We didn't have all the toys that go ahead and distract kids today. I really didn't have things like, you know, Wi-Fi, Nintendo, texting, sexting, or whatever the case may be. But I knew full well when I was in junior high and got up on Saturday morning and a manure spreader was backed up to the chicken coop, I knew by noon it better be cleaned out. After I got into teaching, I was fortunate enough to land in a community where athletics is pretty important. But I found out, you know, reasonably quickly that Cambridge is probably a pretty good football town, and everything hinges on that. So when I got there, you know, I was very adamant about starting little kids. Steve Morgan talked about 3rd and 4th graders. I started a 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade basketball program on Saturday mornings. And I'm not going to, you know, take credit that that's what it was, but we needed to change the culture a little bit and the ideas as far as the kids were concerned. I was also, when I started teaching, I was lucky enough to work for some of the greatest administrators, I think, in the state of Nebraska. For almost 20 years, Dr. Jim Tenneper was a superintendent, and he was extra special to me because he supported his teachers and his colleagues very well. At the time that Dr. Jim Tenneper was a superintendent, Ron Streit was the principal and athletic director, and he operated in the same manner. Dr. Tenneper went on, of course, obviously some of you know, went on to be the executive director of the NSAA and is now working for the National Federation. I would not be remiss to say that I also had some of the good athletes in the state. And some of these are going to be recognized later on as the 25th Silver Anniversary Team. And I'm just going to leave it at that, and I'm not going to steal any of their thunder. I have a number of supportive and diligent assistant coaches throughout the years who have made my job much easier, and I'm going to name the ones that I remember: Alan Steinbrink, Dan Ernst, Larry Match, Larry Nelson, John Johnson, Steve Johnson, Kenny Hotelling, George Lytle, Bill Shoemaker, and Don Sackett. And these people work tirelessly in my support. Probably the people that this is the hardest on is obviously your immediate family. Being long hours, inconsistent meals, extensive travel, diseases such as bleacher butt. These are all part of being a coach's wife. I want to thank my wife, Veronica, support and sacrifices she's made. And about 800 games that I coached, over almost 40 years, she missed one game. She was a very integral part of the venture, and she was very, very important to the kids, and the kids were very important to her. Mama V, as they called her, was really special. My extended family, I'd have a number of people here from South Dakota today where I grew up, and they also were very, very supportive and attended a lot of our ball games. Of all the things that this profession gives us, the one thing that probably stands out is the friends and acquaintances that we've made over the years. Students, student athletes, parents, coaches, fans, they're all very special to us. One of the most unique experiences that I had, I need to mention that after we won the state basketball tournament in 2004, I got home and the first message on my phone was from a fan from a neighboring town. He said, "You deserve this." The profession is really about the journey and the friends that we make along the way. I thank you very much.
Our next coach being honored today is C. Dale Snook. For 20 years, Snook coached at Lincoln University High School until it closed its doors in 1967. His basketball teams had great success, winning 2 state championships and finishing as state runners-up once. 16 of Snook's teams finished ranked in the top 10. During his tenure as boys track coach, his teams won a state title and had 1 runner-up finish. Here to accept the award on behalf of the late C. Dale Snook is one of his former players, Stan Matsky, Jr.
I want to thank the Nebraska School Sports Hall of Fame Committee for selecting Coach Dale Snook for this honor. I also want to thank those special people who nominated Dale Snook, the James family for their help, and Coach Ollie Johnson. Snook's basketball team, as noted, finished in the top 10 ratings 15 times in 19 years and won 2 state championships, Class B in '54 and Class C in '65. And the track team, which started out scoring 7 points in the first time Snook had track, 6 years later they won the Class B state championship in track. I was a transfer from Concordia High School in Seward to Teachers High my junior year in 1949. Because of Snook's coaching, I received a basketball scholarship to the University of Nebraska and lettered 4 years. Some of the other players from Teachers High that some of you might remember was Bob Mercier and Bill Johnson. It's a privilege for me to present Coach Snook in this honor. Teachers High was on the university campus, and our basketball gym was the Coliseum. When Snook took over the physical education and coaching at Teachers High, the kids were getting kicked out of the Coliseum by the cops at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And because of the trouble, they were making, Snook took care of it. Snook wouldn't put up with this kind of trouble, and he put a stop to it. Snook was tough, caring, and accepted no excuses. He expected the best out of us. When we had a senior transfer come in, his name was Ben. Ben was knocking the players down on one of the first practices we had, and Snook said to him, "It's all right to be aggressive, but don't overdo it." When Ben kept it up, Snook changed places with the kid, then guarding Ben, and Ben played the same against Snook as Ben had played against the other kid. Before long, Ben was on the floor 3 or 4 times. Snook got his attention. Ben went on to be an excellent center on our team, and by the way, Ben went on to medical school and became a very fine doctor. And you may or may not know, but Snook had been an ex-Marine and kept himself in excellent shape. Snook's biggest satisfaction was working with young people, helping them develop their confidence, teaching them to respect people and property, and seeing them go on to successful careers. But I smile at this, one can't talk about Coach Snook's accomplishment without mentioning his wife, Velma. They had no children, and Velma was an outstanding musical teacher at Northeast High School for many years. I always thought of her as the assistant coach. She knew the game, never missed a game, and was not hesitant about telling you what she thought. She was a real pistol. Coach Snook and Velma saved a lot of kids from trouble, and they were like a father and a mother to many. We thank you for honoring Coach Dale Snook.
The Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame also strives to honor those individuals or groups who have contributed significantly to high school sports in this state. This year we have 2 contributors to honor. Our first is Fred Egley Jr. Fred's contributions to high school sports began as a teacher and coach in 1939 at Norfolk High School. His contributions were varied and many during the next several decades, which included serving as an administrator, athletic director, counselor, motivator, and member of the Nebraska High School Activities Board of Control. And yes, even as an official. Egley retired in 1981, but remains an active supporter of high school sports. Here to accept his award is Fred Egley Jr.
It is a privilege and an honor to be here this afternoon, to be associated with this school. I wish to thank the group and appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Our next contributor being honored is Dave Van Meter. A successful businessman, Van Meter also had a highly successful college football career that led him to being drafted by the then Los Angeles Rams. His career was ended by injury, but that success in business and college has motivated Van Meter to contribute to high school sports in both Iowa and Nebraska through promotion and fundraising. His extensive effort has provided several schools in Omaha with state-of-the-art weight and cardio training equipment. He has also spearheaded drives to build new football, track soccer stadiums, as well as baseball and softball fields. He has received numerous previous awards from Omaha schools and universities. Here to accept his award is Dave Van Meter.
Thank you, Steve. Guests and inductees, it's truly a pleasure for me to be here. I appreciate very much this honor. I'd like to discuss one sport which we've paid a lot of attention to recently, and that's girls softball. 5 years ago, the inner city schools in Omaha did not have home softball fields. They didn't have home practice fields. They had to be transported to faraway fields, and it was a logistical nightmare. So we went to work on getting softball fields that were close to the schools. And the one that we're really proud of that has suddenly evolved into being a championship team is Benson. Benson could barely field a team 5 years ago. They had maybe 10 to 11 girls out for the sport. Now they have 25 to 30 out. A couple of years ago, they were able to field their first JV team. This year, they've had the best record they've ever had. They're going to go to the state tournament for the first time in history. Now, it's not because of fields necessarily. They've got a great coach, and he's developed great players. Nevertheless, it's a very successful story about what a good facility can do for the pride and the enthusiasm and the spirit of the school and the team. My wife, Carol, should be up here with me because she has been very supportive in writing innumerable letters to foundations and generous individuals. All of these fields were developed with private money. There's no city money, no school district money, no public money involved. It was all done from foundations and generous people in the Omaha area. So they all should be up here with me. Thank you.
Now it's time to honor the athletes who are being inducted today in the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame as the class of 2012. Our first inductee is Paul Amon. One of the truly great multi-sports athletes in Nebraska in the 1930s, Amon excelled in football and basketball at Lincoln High School. He was a starting running back on the 9-0 football team and was named All-State in basketball, leading his team to a 21-1 record. But that was only the beginning of Paul's illustrious athletic career. Amon earned a total of 9 varsity letters at the University of Nebraska, one of only 5 Huskers ever to do so. He received all Big Six conference recognition in both football and basketball and has been inducted into the Nebraska Halls of Fame for both of those sports. He also lettered 3 years in baseball and went on to play for the first ever Olympic baseball team in Berlin and played professional baseball for several teams. Here to accept the award for her late father is Barbara Amon.
Thank you. You know, there are many factors that no doubt contributed to my father's considerable success as an athlete, and there are 2 that I'd like to just briefly mention today, which I think are good luck and determination. When I say good luck, I actually have to go back to his immigrant parents who in the late 1800s found their way to Lincoln, Nebraska, independently of each other, but in Lincoln, found a community that welcomed them and that actually gave them the opportunity to pursue their own version of the American dream. Also, it was probably good luck that my father was born the youngest of 7 children, which for whatever reason exempted him from the family business and gave him the opportunity to pursue his great passion for sports. And that he did for hours upon time. And that's where I think determination comes in, because while he had considerable native skill and passion for sports, he also had just a single-minded determination to be the best athlete, the best sportsman that he could be. One small example that we would hear as family stories is that as a young man, he would cut out the bottom of a peach basket and mount it on the garage and spent hours practicing his basketball. And in fact, supposedly, he wouldn't quit practicing until he had made 100 swishers in a row, much probably to the chagrin of his mother, was trying to get dinner on the table for everyone. So, it was that good fortune and determination that certainly shaped his career as an athlete, among other factors. But I also, I guess, would mention what athletics did for him, because he was able to take the tremendous impact and lessons learned, skills learned from the sports field and transfer them to the rest of his life. At Lincoln High School, he was student body president. He was president of the student council. He received the Dobbins Award, which was for excellence not just in athletics, but also academics. And probably most significant for our family, he was Prince Charming at Lincoln High School's Joy Night, where a young 8th grade girl, Flossie Mall, was awed by the Prince Charming and dreamed of someday making him her husband. Fortunately for me and the rest of my siblings, that dream came true. Obviously, high school sports were very different in the early 30s. For example, football helmets were made out of leather, and most on the team played not just offense but defense, and clearly they were smaller than today's high school football players. But in any case, I said that significant influence that sports had in my father's life. Certainly he continued in a career, as we've heard, as a coach for many years at West Point and then on to Wake Forest. But I'd also note that at Wake Forest, where the 4 years he coached there, he was twice ACC Coach of the Year during losing seasons. And we attribute that, frankly, to what he was known there for those 4 years as a gentleman coach. It was with great dignity that he brought to that profession and then to his profession when he came back to Nebraska as a banker. And I guess that's what I would end with. My father loved sports, but equally so, he loved Nebraska. And Nebraska was what was his home. He was honored to represent it on the national and the international level, and it was home. It was where we always were brought back to the center, even when he was living elsewhere. So on behalf of the Amon family, thank you very much for this recognition and honor.
And I could go on and on about that career. But since this is the Nebraska High School Hall of Fame, let me mention some of his achievements in football and track while attending Millard North High School in the late 90s. He was not only a two-time All-State selection by the Lincoln Journal-Star, he was also named honorary captain and Offensive Player of the Year both years. He finished his high school football career with 50 touchdowns and over 5,100 yards rushing. As one might expect, he was a standout sprinter in track as well, placing second in state in the 100-meter dash, fourth in the 200-meter dash, and was a member of the second-place 400-meter relay team. In 2005, the Omaha World Herald named Crouch the 42nd best athlete of all time in Nebraska. Here to accept his award is Eric Crouch.
Thank you very much. I am honored to be here today. I want to thank the Nebraska Sports High School Hall of Fame for making this possible. I want to thank Roger Berry and Pat Salerno working directly with me. I want to say sorry that I couldn't bring a picture that's good as Clester Johnson's over there. His looks pretty good tonight. But in all seriousness, I think it's not about me tonight. It's about the people that helped me with my athletic career in high school and in getting to that point. I want to thank my mother, first of all, for teaching me hard work and dedication, that it pays off in the long run, no matter what obstacles you face. Starting off with my Pee Wee football coach, I'll always remember George Conley telling me, quick feet, quick feet, quick feet. That's all he just kept telling me, so it instilled quick feet into my head. He was a mailman, but a great coach and a great family guy, so very inspired by him. And then in middle school, Scott Pullen was a great coach, taught us toughness. And then in high school, obviously the great coach Fred Petito at Millard North, who's done great things with that program, and Mark Chavez. Those guys have, who really taught us about dedicating ourselves to football, what we love, and we've learned so much from them. And It's just so inspiring to be part of this. I'm looking through the names, and I'm glad that I was called to be part of this because, you know, I really didn't know, I wasn't really aware of what the Nebraska Sports High School Hall of Fame was about and what it stood for. So, again, thank you. I want to congratulate all the other inductees. It's quite an honor. And I want to thank my wife for all her support. She's here today, so thank you very much, Nicole. And really, that is it. I appreciate the honor. Thank you very much.
Our next honoree is Jason Glock, one of the most prolific scorers in Nebraska high school basketball history. Glock received about every honor imaginable by the time he graduated. During his career at Wahoo High School, they won state championships all 4 years and had a record of 101-1 in that span. By the way, Jason didn't suit up for that one loss. He still owns the school record for scoring in one game of 52. He is 16th on the state all-time single-season scoring charts and is the 9th all-time leading scorer in Nebraska's boys basketball history. Among his many honors was being named the USA Today State High School Player of the Year in 1991. He went on to play at the University of Nebraska on the men's basketball team. By the way, he was not only a Super State selection in basketball during his high school career, he was also a Super State football player. Here to accept his award is Jason Glock.
I would like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for judging me worthy of this honor. I am humbled and excited to join these other great athletes today. We didn't play high school sports for the recognition and fanfare. We did it because we had the desire to compete and achieve. Our accomplishments were not due to one person alone, but were a collective effort of many players and coaches with one goal in mind, to win championships. To reach that goal, we had to work hard, be disciplined and responsible, yet still have fun. High school athletics taught each of us lifelong lessons about dedication, teamwork, focus, adversity, and the ups and downs of winning and losing. I want to thank a number of people who made high school sports an enjoyable and rewarding experience for me. Basketball coaches Mick Anderson and Mark Watton for getting the best team together on the court and allowing each player to understand their roles and that the team always came first. We always played unselfish team basketball. You knew how to get the players to play hard. We had great times playing Nike Summer League basketball and going to team camps. Thank you for spending all the time and effort with us. Football coaches Dick Tinglehoff, Randy Shada, Greg Reeves, and Mike Tramner. The summer conditioning drills were some of the toughest I've had to endure, but we were always in better shape than the opponent. We were always well prepared for the opposing teams. I remember playing Fremont Bergen, and the scouting report kept mentioning a player at the offensive tackle position named Zach Wiegert. We ended up winning the game, and Wiegert went on to be an All-American for the Huskers and to play in the NFL. Thank you to my best friend and teammate, Randy Hoffman. Thanks for always picking me up in your truck to take me to school, to lift weights, and to shoot baskets. We could always count on Randy outworking the opposing players. His determination, dedication, and his football receptions on his knees will always be remembered. He is one of the best friends a person could have. I would also like to acknowledge all my high school teammates. I admired and respected the will and determination of each individual. Everyone pushed to be their best, not just for themselves, but most importantly for the team. To my mom, thank you for teaching me good values and hard work. Your encouragement always kept us going. Players and friends always loved coming to our house for spaghetti feeds the night before our games, knowing the great food you would prepare. Dad, thank you for getting us into the gym to play ball and for coaching us when we were young. I still remember attending the overnight dome basketball camp when Troy and I were in elementary school. We thought it was awesome when they videotaped our form and then were able to correct our mistakes. Thank you to my brothers Troy and Ryan. As older brothers tend to do, Troy, you paved the way for me and made the path easier. And Ryan, you always kept the pressure on me to try and stay ahead of you. Thanks for being great leaders, caring people, hard workers, and teammates. I remember when we would scoop the snow off the driveway and wear hats, gloves, and coats just so we could shoot baskets and play against one another. I especially want to thank Dr. Sam Martin for his graciousness in mentoring me. I remember playing one-on-one Sunday afternoons and not being able to beat him, even though he was in his 40s. He taught me shooting technique and form on the court and was a great instructor for me in the office when I joined his dental practice 12 years ago. I want to recognize my Grandpa Glock for all of his support. He made it to every high school basketball game except one. He arrived at Fremont Bergen High School but slipped on some ice just outside the gym, broke his glasses, and tore his pants. He decided he didn't want to be seen like that, so he drove home holding up one lens to help navigate his 60-mile trip. I also want to thank the fans and community of Wahoo. I'll never forget the Richter Roar State Championship game in '89 when Bernie Embody hit the 30-footer to bring us within 3 points, and then my brother Troy banked in the tying shot at the buzzer. The Wahoo Warrior fans would wait hours in line to get a great seat, and we always had our side of the bleachers filled with excited and supportive fans. I want to acknowledge all my relatives, friends, and guests here. I'm grateful you chose to share this afternoon with me. It's amazing the memories that can be made when you dream big, set goals, work hard to achieve those goals, surround yourself with good friends, and get direction from people that care about you. Finally, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Board again for making another lasting memory. This is truly a great honor. In closing, I'd like to congratulate my fellow inductees, and I'd especially like to thank my family here, my wife Tricia, and 3 children, Ellie, Marcus, and Landon. Thanks.
Our next honoree is Cluster Johnson. Well, probably the only reason that Jason Glock wasn't named High School Athlete of the Year his senior year, because there was this kid at Bellevue West named Cluster Johnson. Cluster had an outstanding career as the starting quarterback for Bellevue West, leading his team to a 20-7 record during the 3 years he started, and was twice named by the Omaha World Herald as the All-Nebraska quarterback. Johnson only wrestled 2 seasons, but his senior year is one to remember. He went 33-1 with his only loss coming in the state finals. In track, he won all-class gold medal his junior year in the 300-meter intermediate hurdles, and then added an all-class gold his senior year in the 110-meter high hurdles. Cluster went on to play football for the University of Nebraska, switching from quarterback to wingback, playing an important role on 2 national championship teams. Here to accept his award is Cluster Johnson.
Thank you very much. I also want to congratulate the other inductees. I'm going to start off with thank yous first, because it's the opportunity to thank my family and close friends. I'm going to start off with my grandmother, who just passed away this year, very integral part of my life. My mother passed away when I was 5 years old, so I was adopted by basically my whole family. My brother Silvo and my brother Daryl, my 2 oldest brothers, older brothers, they're the ones that made me tougher. My auntie Ellen and Auntie Biggs, they're the reasons that I even made it to Nebraska. I'll come back to them. My Uncle Vernon and Ellen Johnson, they're here from Tucson, Arizona. My Uncle Alvin and Jean Few, they're here from Maryland. My 4 children, Talon, Cluster II, Cade, and Keegan. He's playing in a football game that I'm missing right now. My best friend, Eric Strickland, he's here. He made me look good in high school. Thank my girlfriend, Melissa, and her family for being here also. But I'll take you back to Auntie and Ellen Biggs. They're the reasons why I'm here in Nebraska. I was living with my grandmother in Memphis, Tennessee, and I just so happened to come up and visit their son, Tojo Biggs, who was about a year older than I was, and we got along like brothers. So we cooked up a grand scheme for me to stay here in Nebraska and play football together. And Auntie and Ellen Biggs, who were in the military, accepted me to come here and actually live with them. Part of it had to do with the fact that he owned a DJ business, and I could help out with that also. But sports for me in high school was really about a couple of different things. Competition was a huge thing for me, going all out, going as hard as I could. If I was going to do a sport, I wanted to go as hard as I could, and I wanted to try to be the best at it. That's a subliminal message to my son right now. But like I said, Auntie and Ellen Biggs, they really what they did for me, they really stressed academics was a big thing for them, and that's why I was able to actually get a football scholarship, because they made sure that if we got our grades, we would be okay in the future. And it was a privilege for us to play sports. It wasn't out of right. So they let us know that early on. If we were not doing good in school, then doing sports was not going to happen. So I'm very happy that they're here today, because I could actually thank them for where I am today. If it wasn't for that discipline, I can surely say I would not be in this position. So thanks again to Hall for inducting me. It's a privilege and an honor. Thank you for the award.
Our next inductee is Ginger Keller Marks. A three-sport standout for Gibbon High School in the late 80s, Ginger was best known for her prowess on the basketball court. She was a key player on the Gibbon teams that won 61 straight games and won 89-4 during her high school career. She finished with over 1,400 career points and almost 1,000 rebounds. She was named to the Kearney Hub Player of the Year and All-State First Team by the Lincoln Journal-Star. Keller was also a 3-year starter on the Gibbon volleyball team and qualified for the state track meet in 4 events. She went on to an outstanding basketball career at the University of Nebraska, Kearney, where she was named Most Valuable Player all 4 of her years there. Keller was inducted into the University of Nebraska Kearney Hall of Fame in 2006. Here to accept her award is Ginger Keller Marks.
First, I'd like to thank the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame Foundation Committee for this honor. It's amazing and humbling to be included with these accomplished athletes and previous athletes that have been inducted. It's really about all the people that have influenced my life along the way. Without their support and encouragement, I would not be standing here today. I guess my family, in high school in junior high, we spent a lot of time in the gym. We spent a lot of time going to camps. They did a lot of traveling, taking me places. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being at all of the games and just your support. I want to thank the teachers that kept me engaged and taught me lessons beyond the classroom, and especially my coaches who just really probably changed my life through athletics, and especially to my basketball coach, Coach Larry Bleach. He spent countless hours taking us to camps, playing in leagues, gave us opportunities to travel to out east to play in AAU tournaments, and also to Mexico to play basketball. And also just really instilled a sense of family within our team. I had really just amazing teammates to play with that, that I continue to have friendships with. We spent a lot of time together, so luckily we enjoyed each other, and made the experience just a great one. I want to also thank our community of Gibbon. They just rallied behind us and were just kind of embraced our sports, our school and our sports team, and made it a really enjoyable experience. And finally, I just want to thank my family for being here. That was probably athletics helped me prepare for the greatest accomplishment of my life, which is marrying my husband Dave and raising our 4 children, Logan, Trista, Trayton, and Ginger. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Kelly Lindsay. The fact that Kelly was the first girl athlete in the state to be named Female Athlete of the Year by the Omaha World Herald and Lincoln Journal-Star her junior year speaks volumes about her athletic ability. The 1997 Millard North graduate earned a total of 12 letters, 4 each in cross country, basketball, and soccer. During her outstanding cross-country career, Lindsay won 34 of 35 career races, losing only in her final state meet race when she couldn't finish due to a rib injury, which of course means she was a 3-time state champion. In 2 of her 4 years on the basketball team, Lindsay helped her team qualify for state. Soccer is the sport for which she is most noted, being named to the all-state team all 4 years during her Millard North career, in which those teams won 2 state titles and 1 runner-up trophy. She was selected to the Parade All-America list and the U.S. Under-20 national team. She went on to lead her 4 years on the University of Notre Dame soccer team and earned numerous honors along the way. She also had a stint playing in a professional soccer league. Here to accept her award is Kelly Lindsay.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, thank you to the Nebraska Sports High School Hall of Fame. What an honor. It also means that we're getting older, but I can accept that. Not moving the same as I did back in high school, but that's okay as well, because all those hours, days, weeks, months, and years of training were well worth it to stand up here today in my home state. I'm very proud to be from Nebraska, very proud to be from Omaha, very proud to have gone to Millard North High School. Many of my coaches and athletic directors from Millard North are here today, so I want a special thanks to Ron Park, June Morsey, Jeff Ritz, Terrence J. Thielen, and Kelly Thielen, his wife, all of which supported me dearly, kept me in line, engaged me in the classroom, because any of you who have children know, especially if they're athletic and they have a lot of energy, sometimes they have way too much energy in the classroom. So I was very appreciative of their time to keep me calm, controlled, and focused on my future so that I could achieve what I ultimately ended up achieving in my life. Most importantly in my life, my family. My younger brother, who's not here, I give him massive credit because being 5 years younger than 2 athletes, he had to come to a lot of events. And he never complained to us. He never held it against us, and he was always 100% supportive. So to Kevin, I give him great credit for being a good little brother. My older brother, Casey, not always easy to be older and have the little sister who's constantly in the paper and constantly being talked about. And I appreciate from the bottom of my heart that you're a great big brother. You always kept me by your side. You led the way for me. You taught me how to be a good little sister, and that we got to compete together in those years of high school. It means more to me than you probably know, but I think there's a lot of brothers and sisters out there that don't have what we had, so I truly appreciate it. Special thanks to my grandparents, who for my entire high school career were all live and supported me from the bottom of their heart at every single event. They were dedicated to making sure that I felt like I could achieve anything I wanted in the world. And when you have that kind of support in your life, the sky's the limit. So I appreciate that, and my grandma Lois is here today. And you will have no idea the impact you've had on my life and where I am today in it. So I truly appreciate that, Grandma. And to my parents, okay, my dad started coaching me at 4 years old. He had no idea what soccer was. He read a lot of books, and he led me down the path to success. He always reached out and found different people who could help us and support us as little kids. At a very young age, he called me bozo once at practice. And that hurt me deeply on that day, but helped me be a lot stronger today than he probably will ever know. And the hours that my parents spent with us on the driveway, in the front yard, in the backyard, on vacations, traveling. And now as I've gotten older, I can look back and say, wow, how did they get 3 of us through all these sports and travel to all these places? And When you're growing up, to all you kids out there, you have no idea. But once you get out on your own and you have to start paying the bills and you see where life really is, I can look back at my parents now and say, I don't know how you did it. I appreciate it greatly. I'd never be where I was today without you guys making huge sacrifices in your life for me and for all of us. And there's no way that I can ever repay you for that, but I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it. And last but not least, the inspiration in my world today are my 5 nieces and nephews, all from my brother Casey. They have no idea how much they've changed my life. I chased a lot of dreams in coaching soccer, and as they kind of started to be born and grow up, I realized exactly why we're here today. Athletics teaches us about character, integrity, courage, family, friends, all the really, truly important things in life that make you successful, because wins and losses comes and goes, and you can't always control that. The things that I probably look back and feel most successful about in high school were TPing Mr. Thielen's yard. We were achieved greater and greater TPingness every year, and to us that is probably the greatest success I ever had in cross country. The fact that we got Mr. Ritz so mad that he split his pants one day in a game at Fremont, that's great achievement. I mean, how many of you can say your coach jumped up so mad at you that he split his pants? So when I really look at life, wins and losses just don't mount up to success. It's the days, the weeks, the months, the years of dedication, of sacrifice, of putting yourself at that level where if you do it right and you do the right thing, you can achieve greatness. And when I saw my little nieces and nephews growing up, there was nothing I want more than to show them, inspire them, and other young people how to also live that through the unique side of athletics. So I appreciate the honor greatly. Thank you to my family. You guys have no idea how much you mean to me. And congratulations to all the other inductees. It really is a great honor when we look back on our careers to where we ended up in our lives today. So thank you.
Our next inductee is Dennis Louie. Dennis is Clearwater High School coach in football, basketball, and track, Larry Ernst, was quoted as saying, "Dennis is the greatest all-around athlete I have ever coached in all my years in education." The fact that Louie earned 12 letters in 3 sports pretty much tells the story. He was a 4-year starter in football and was on the Norfolk Daily News Northeast Nebraska Best Players list 2 years. Dennis was also a 4-year starter in basketball, leading the team in scoring each of those years. He was a 2-time All-State selection by the Omaha World Herald and averaged over 20 points and 20 rebounds a game during his career. In state track, he won titles in the shot put and discus and had a 2nd-place finish in the high jump. Louie played basketball and baseball at Pershing College in Beatrice and was drafted several times by Major League Baseball teams, eventually signing a minor league contract with the Minnesota Twins. Here to accept his award is Dennis Louie.
First of all, I'd like to thank the selection committee for this great honor. Also to my family and friends who came out to support me today, knowing how honored I am. Growing up in Clearwater, Nebraska, where everyone knew everyone, I was having the very pleasant and blessed life of 2 great parents. They have both passed away, but I know they're here in spirit. Being in small town Nebraska, blessed to have a great man as my one coach, junior high and high school. Leroy Ernst, would you please stand up and be recognized? Leroy, I don't know if you know this, but I used to leave a window unlocked in the gymnasium so I could sneak in after practices, crawl under the gym floor and get in where I'd have a basketball sitting and shoot baskets when the lights were off. My goals were always high and I always strived to do the very best that I could. I was fortunate to be very successful in all sports. In a small town, you participated in all sports. And I had great teammates. We had great success in all the sports. One accomplishment that Clearwater started, probably to be best remembered, was our state track meet in 1966. They were renovating the university track, so they moved the state track meet out to UNK, Kearney State. In that meet, we were pushed to the ultimate. We needed to score a point in the relay to beat Sutherland. And I'd like to recognize those teammates of mine, Bill Saney, Ron Hurley, and Steve Putroff for helping us beat Sutherland in that relay to gain that point so that we could tie them. After high school, I went on to play basketball and baseball at John J. Pershing College in Beatrice. A few of you probably don't remember that school, but it was open for 5 years, but there I also only had one coach. Bob Gates was my coach in basketball and baseball. As was mentioned, I was drafted out of high school to play with the Baltimore Orioles. Decided that an education was more important at the time. Atlanta and San Diego also drafted me during college, but when I graduated, I did sign with the Minnesota Twins. My professional career didn't last long. I was in there for 2 years. But during this time, I was blessed to meet the love of my life, Jane Bush. I'm not a well-known speaker, so bear with me on this, but in my family, my dad also played professional baseball. I had an uncle, Vern Hoshite, that coached on 4 World Series championship teams. Jane's father, Jerry Bush, was an all-pro basketball player and former coach at Nebraska. And right now, my nephew, Fred Hoiberg, who played several professional years, is now the head basketball coach at Iowa State. So Nebraska, Iowa State, we've got to balance that out there a little bit. So, most importantly was the fact that I was able to be involved in my children's lives, instill in them that through sports they set goals, work as a team, hard work paid off. It's not always about winning. My daughter Carrie was able to set the scoring record at Palmer. My son Sam, blessed to make 82 three-pointers in a season, which is state ranked. And my son Mike took the family bragging rights when he outscored me by 1 point in the game with 56 points. Today I enjoy watching all sports, but manage to keep a little time on the golf course, as well as my family knows and relatives. My wife and I have 9 grandchildren. Just happens to be enough for a baseball team. We're busy traveling and seeing them. We hope to be able to instill those same great values in them: goal setting, perseverance, hard work, determination, and teamwork. I'm so humbled to be up here receiving this award. Congratulations to all the other honorees. This is a great honor for me. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee is Kevin Penner. A 1980 graduate of Aurora High School, Penner led the Huskies football team to its first conference championship and undefeated regular season in over a decade and its first ever state playoff. He was named the Class B All-State quarterback by the Omaha World-Herald his senior season. In basketball, he was a key player on the 2-time state runner-up teams his final 2 years. His final season, Penner was named to the Super State basketball team by the Omaha World-Herald. He capped off a great career by scoring the 2nd most points in Aurora's Class B state track team. For all his achievements, Kevin was named the 1980 Omaha World-Herald High School Athlete of the Year. Baseball was the college sport of choice for Penner, who played for a very good Wichita State team. Here to accept his award is Kevin Penner.
Thank you. What a fantastic day. This is awesome. Thank you to the organizers of the Hall for all their hard work and preparation and considering me for this special honor. Thank you to my family and friends, especially my daughters, for coming out and supporting me. Congratulations to my fellow inductees. It's been a treat to meet some of you and to share this day with you. Aurora has a rich tradition of athletic excellence. I'm preceded into the hall by three legends, Tom Kropp, Sandra Obermeyer, and Tommy Haas. To be mentioned in the same context as these outstanding individuals is truly an honor. For those of you who have met them, you know that not only are they outstanding athletes, but they're truly wonderful people, humble to a fault. I hope I can follow in their footsteps where that's concerned. God blessed me with some talent, but without great instruction, I would not be standing here today. Some of those coaches are here. I did see Coach John Farron, my track coach. He's here somewhere. He was also a fantastic football coach. One of the most intense and focused men I've ever met, always on task, never let us settle for second best. And I'm going to go over my time here, but I have an apology that I've needed to make for 32 years to Coach Farron. Larry Porter was out doing the Athlete of the Year story on me, and somewhere in that interview, I mentioned that I hated track. And not only did Larry Porter quote me, but hated track was a subhead in the story. So I'm not saying it wasn't true, I'm just saying I'm sorry, Coach. Basketball coach Bill Holliday, also a fellow Hall member. Man, we had some fun. Holy cow. Yeah, I mean, we worked like dogs in practice, drill after drill after drill, fundamental after fundamental after fundamental. But when game time came, he turned us loose, and we had a ball. Thanks, Coach Holliday. Football coach Jack Guggenmoss, he is here someplace. He should be a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying. I learned from him that it wasn't the score that mattered. It was whether or not you'd played up to your potential. One day after a football game that we'd won 100-0, whatever the score was, and I was feeling pretty good about it. Coach Guggenmoss came up to me and he says, "How do you think we did?" And, you know, I don't remember what I said, but, you know, I was pretty happy. And he just shook his head and he said, "We got a lot of work to do." And, you know, I learned from him that it's not about what the score says. It's whether you play up to your potential. And I would argue that Coach Guggenmoss led more players to play way beyond their potential than a lot of coaches. So thank you very much, Coach Guggenmoss. And of course, there was Mom and Dad. Mom was the behind-the-scenes one. She was the operations manager, if you will. She was the unsung hero. She always made sure my uniforms were clean, made me wash my practice stuff. Phenomenal pregame meals. She was the quiet one, except once at a baseball game. I was pitching and I was struggling. I could not find the plate with both hands if you led me to it. I was struggling. And baseball has a lot of downtime, a lot of moments where you're not doing anything. And during one of those moments, Mom's frustrated voice came out of the stands and, "Come on, Kevin, throw strikes." As if all I needed was a reminder. Love you, Mom. Dad, the coach, the man with the keys to the gym. I always had a ball in my hand, always had a hoop to shoot to. He made me go left. I knew how to pick and roll, and I knew why you picked and rolled before I knew how to multiply. Dad was a little bit more vocal than Mom, especially during basketball season. I can honestly say that during basketball games, I never heard him. I was a little bit busy. But after the game, somebody would come up to me in the locker room and say, "Kev, did you hear what your dad yelled at the ref?" And I would say, "No, thank you." Love you too, Dad. In closing, let me say that I've learned from those that I've mentioned to do a few things. Trust God, work hard, keep a good attitude, and never quit. Can't say that I've done those things perfectly throughout my life, but I can say that when I followed those simple principles, good things happen. Thank you all for being here and sharing this special day with us, and God bless. Oh, and go Sharks.
Our next honoree is Joe Salerno. Truly one of the greatest boys high school tennis players in Nebraska high school history, Salerno dominated the sport in the mid-'80s while attending Omaha Central High School. He won state singles titles in all 4 years, 1984, 85, 86, and 87. He was only the second Nebraska high school boy to achieve that feat, and among only a dozen boys in the nation to do so at that point in time. Also on his resume are wins against former Grand Slam tennis stars Jim Courier and Michael Chang when they were all playing on the juniors circuit. Salerno played collegiately at Tyler, Texas Junior College and at the University of Nebraska. Here to accept his award is Joe Salerno.
First of all, I'd like to thank the committee for inducting me. This is an incredible honor. It's also an incredible honor to be inducted with the rest of you athletes. My friend Rick Harris called me and told me that that I was nominated for the Nebraska Hall of Fame on Easter. And in actuality, I was actually going to be inducted. But the day he told me I was going to be nominated, he said they were going to nominate 1 out of 10 athletes. And as soon as they said Eric Crouch, I said, well, maybe next time. And then that was on Sunday, and then on Monday he called me and said, no, hey, you're actually going to be inducted. And I said, well, what's it going to be, man? Am I going to be inducted, or am I just going to be nominated? So it's truly an honor to be up here. On the plane here, I currently live in Chicago. I sat back and I thought about all the honors that I've received throughout my career and all the different people that I've met during my career as well. And just ask myself, to a sense, what is my biggest honor now? Because I don't feel that I'm probably going to reach any more accolades other than coaching. Is it by beating Jim Courier, #1 player in the world? Is it by training with the #1 player in the world, Ilie Nastase? Meeting Arthur Ashe? And I said to myself, or also obviously winning 4 state championships as well as a tennis player. And then I asked myself, you know, there's no bigger honor than actually being able to come home to your own state, to where actually everything began for you as an athlete. This honor today trumps any honor, any individual win, any team win that I have ever accomplished. And I would like to thank Pat Salerno for hanging in there with me through this whole process. The one thing that all of us athletes have in common is the journey. Once we start becoming an athlete, whether it's one sport, two sports, or three sports, we immediately become competitive. And that competitive edge goes a long ways, builds a lot of character. And just going through the grind, day in and day out, going through the highs and lows, the biggest wins and some of the toughest losses, and sometimes just telling yourself, I just want to quit. The mental madness that just goes through your head, and everybody here can relate to that, not just the athletes. But it's the perseverance that continues to lead us to want to try to accomplish more. And we build that perseverance through our family and our parents. And I'd like to thank my family, Sherry and Terry and Chris, George and Rick. And I'd like to thank some of my closest friends, Rick Harris, the boys standing back there who came here to support me. And during my high school experience, there's so many different memories, from basketball to baseball and then tennis. You know, my freshman year, I said to myself, there's probably no chance I'm going to win a state championship my freshman year. But all of us know what it means to have the will and to have confidence and to have the mental stability, the mental stamina that overcomes your opponents. And you know when you're in battle. You know what they're feeling mentally on the other side. You know what you're feeling mentally on your side. And it truly comes down to the will. And that's what's taken me so far in athletics and in high school. I would like to obviously thank my mother and father, who both have passed and would do anything to be here, I know, today, but they're watching me, and I know they're watching me, and I know that they're incredibly proud of me, probably have the biggest smile on their face. And I owe a lot to them because they truly built more character into me than just sports. They guided me, they brought me up when I was down, they supported me, and they didn't push me. That's a key word, they didn't push me. And being surrounded so many different types of athletes, you see that a lot. And I feel very lucky that my parents gave me the honor to pick and choose what I wanted to do and if I wanted to quit or continue. Now, when I was in high school, there's probably one of the best, or known as one of the best tennis coaches in this day and age, Nick Bollettieri, runs a very, very big tennis academy in Florida. And when I was 16, he came across me at a national tournament, and he wanted to build a team. So I'm like, yeah, well, whatever, what team? And the team consists of Andre Agassi, Jim Courier, David Wheaton, some players that were top 10 in the world, some players that I think you may know of already. And I turned the opportunity down. Now, everybody looked at me like I was crazy. Nick Bollettieri was completely stunned, didn't really get it. Full ride, training with the best players in the world. The reason why I didn't do it is because I wanted to continue as an athlete. I wanted to continue to play basketball, where I started as point guard and sometimes didn't start. But I wanted to go through that experience, and I love the competition and the challenges that it takes. And I also wanted to play baseball. And obviously, I'm not probably a guy that you look at and think that I'm probably going to play college basketball. So it really didn't make sense for me to turn this scholarship down to go play with the best players in the world. But with my dedication to the high school sports, Nebraska high school sports, I continued to stay in high school and play at Omaha Central. And I finished my career with 4 state championships in tennis, which was my biggest accolade in high school. And last, I would like to simply dedicate this award to my mother and father, Joseph and Rose Salerno. Thank you very much.
Our next honoree is Debbie Spickelmeyer Noble. Along with her sister Donna, whom we'll be honoring next, Debbie helped power Hayes Center atop Class D2 in volleyball, basketball, and track in the early 80s. She was a 4-year letter winner in all 3 sports. She was an all-conference and all-state performer in both volleyball and basketball, and a 15-time state meet medalist, including 2 all-class golds in track. Track is a sport she chose to pursue in college, starting out at Kearney State and then going on to Chadron State. She earned All-America honors at both schools. During her high school career, Hayes Center was a runner-up in and a semifinalist at the state high school volleyball tournament. They were also semifinalists and state champion in basketball and 2-time runners-up and 2-time state champions in track. Here to accept her award is Debbie Spickelmeyer Noble.
Thank you to the Nebraska High School Hall of Fame Board for choosing Donna and I for this great honor. Thank you to Mark and Nancy Frex for getting our community, our coaches, teachers, and teammates together to nominate us for this outstanding honor. It is an honor to be among the 2012 inductees. I have been telling my students, not only have I had my picture by the Heisman Trophy, but I now have one with a true Heisman Trophy winner. Thank you, Eric Crouch. Southwest Nebraska is represented by some of the best this year. Steve Morgan, who mentored me in my first head coaching job for volleyball. Dale SCHOENFISH, who I worked with at the Great Plains basketball camp, and then also the 25th anniversary team of Cambridge. First of all, I need to thank God, who has blessed us with many talents. Our athletic talents have brought us here today. I want to thank our coaches, Gary Hastings, Marion Richards, Kate Repass, Clint Livingston, Marietta Adams, Jim Cole, Rick May, and Lana May. You coached in a very small town. You coached because you loved the sport. You coached because you cared about the athletes. You coached because you believed in each and every one of us. You knew our potential and found ways to push us beyond our own expectations. They say the greatest compliment is imitation. Coach Hastings, I found when I coached volleyball, I used all your sayings to inspire girls to find a way to win. In practice, you made us tough. You would stand on top of the bleachers and hit volleyballs at us as hard as you could. We were scared, but we stood our ground, doing everything we could to pass the ball to the target. That drill helped us conquer our fears, because if we could make the pass off your hits, no one could get a ball by us. Do you remember the game against Wheatland? It was at home. It went 3 sets. The game lasted over 2 hours. This has to be the first time that a football game started and the fans were still watching the volleyball game. We ended up beating Wheatland, which was a first for Hayes Center. Coach Livingston, you're an inspiration. Remember when we were freshmen and you came to watch our last volleyball game? After the game, a bunch of us girls went and sat by you. We were begging him to continue coaching. He had thought about not coaching because in a small town, a lot of people are farming or ranching. along with the coaching and teaching. And we continued to ask him, please, will you coach us? And he said, the only way I can do it is if we have practice at 6 a.m. And we looked at him and we said, we'll see you at 6 a.m. He tried very hard to make us regret that. For weeks, we could hardly walk up and down the stairs at our high school. We were so sore. All the running paid off because he wasn't blessed with a team with a lot of height, but we did have speed and endurance. The one thing we didn't have was a great understanding of the rules. Evidently, there are fouls, and there are dumb fouls. I tended to fall into the dumb foul category. Over time, he found a way to fix this. For every dumb foul, you had to run a mile. I got tired of running 4 miles after every game, so I changed my ways. Thank goodness basketball doesn't allow more than 5 fouls. His hard work, sacrifice paid off with us making 3 trips to the state, and one of them proved to be a championship in 1985. Our running career started with Junior Olympics. Thank you, Coach Gary Hastings, for mentioning Junior Olympics to our parents. Of course, Mom took the idea and ran with it. She had us running over the hills and back, timing us with her stopwatch that she went to every track meet with. She would drive us to McCook to run in the Junior Olympic meet every year. There was one year we didn't know if we were going to make it. We lived out in the country, and it was dirt roads, and it had rained. So Mom was plowing mud, trying to get us to McCook. We ended up going off the road and getting stuck. Donna and I got out. We're pushing the car, trying to get us out. And the neighbor came by and ended up pulling us out. We get there just before the race starts, and I bet we were quite the sight running with mud all over our shoes. We still ended up going 1 and 2, muddy shoes and all. Most of you probably don't know that there were times we didn't go 1 and 2. We would be running in Junior Olympics in Columbus, and we would battle it out for last and second to last place. That is when we saw Carol Nunley run, and she inspired us to be better runners. We wanted to be as good as her, so we started training in the summer so we wouldn't battle it out for last anymore. Thank you, Carol Nunley, for being our inspiration. Our freshman year, Coach Jim Cole had his hands full. He took 4 freshmen and a foreign exchange student to state. I will never forget running under the lights and hearing our school being announced as they brought us down the track for the 4x8. The next morning, telling our mom that we were going to win the 800 and beat Carleen Erickson. Of course, Mom smiled and said, you can do anything you set your mind to. And to everyone's surprise, we did just that. Donna won in record time, and I took second. Running against Carleen our freshman year gave us another person to look up to and strive to be as good as. We met up with Carleen again at the National Junior Olympics that was in that summer here in Lincoln. The 3 of us had a great time together, and we really looked forward to going to state track again the following year to compete against one of the best, Carleen Erickson. Our junior year, we won the 4x8. I finally beat Donna in the 800 and set a new record. We watched together as the rest of the classes ran in the 800. And as they got to the Class A, we stood there together watching and realized that I got the all-around gold. But in my mind, we got the all-around gold. I tried my best to push Donna in the 1600 so she could earn one also. To my disappointment, that didn't happen. Our senior year was a dream come true. We won the 4x8 and just missed the all-around gold. The 800 was the greatest race of all time for me. The race went just as Rick May, Donna, and I had planned. We hit our 400 time, and as we were running the backstretch, you could hear the crowd cheering. We got to the 600, and we heard Coach May say, "You are right on." We came out of the turn and ran the final 100 neck and neck. I was fortunate to hold on for the win. The time was the second fastest time in the history of Nebraska. It was good enough also for an all-round gold. That was and always will be the greatest race of my life. Donna went on and won the 1600 in records and challenging us to this day. The track kids and other coaches know where to find me, on the backstretch at the 200, just like you. Kent May Thank you for being the best starter and making sure I ran the 1600 at regionals my freshman year. I was trying to use the excuse that I didn't feel well, and he just was lining everybody up, and he said, Spicklemeyer, get in your lane. I got in my lane. Our teammates, thank you for being the best teammates anyone could ask for. We have some great memories. Remember sitting in class counting bruises on our knees. I believe we got to more than 20 bruises, and we were proud of each and every one of them. Thank you to the community of Hayes Center. We always had the best fans and crowds at games. Hayes Center would turn into a ghost town when there was a state event. Thank you to those special people who live on in our memories. Joe Nitch, thank you for giving us the best cinder track to run on and always being there to time. I will never forget the first time I broke 60 seconds, and guess who was timing? Joe Nitch. The look on his face was priceless. Dick May, the greatest track fan anyone could ask for. Johnny Scott, who owned the grocery store in Hayes Center. He always had words of encouragement when we went up there to get snacks at lunch. Keith Burkett, the famous Hayes Center announcer. Junior Mulring, an outstanding volleyball ref and starter for track meets. My family. Thank you to our family and friends who have always been there for us. Jim and Ida for sharing this day. Roger and Pat, to the best in-laws anyone could ask for and sharing this day with me. Dad and Joyce for being here also. Dad, thank you for encouraging us to run. Remember when we would be irrigating and we'd say we can beach to the house and you had to drive the pickup around and we cut across the cornfield? I will never forget the day that we were getting close to the house and we looked at each other and we said, I think we can win. And we took off and ran even harder. That was a great day. A special thank you to our mom, who lives on in our hearts. You were always there to encourage us to do our best in life, in school, and in athletics. You taught us we could do anything we set our mind to never give up, never ever give up. And if you get knocked down, you get right back up and go at it again. You were the wind beneath our wings. I hope I can inspire my kids just like you did me. Thank you to my husband, Scott, who made sure Kate got to Laramie yesterday for a band competition, and Danny got to volleyball in Sheridan and Gillette, and still made it here to support me. My kids, Cade, Danielle, and Carly, I want you to know winning isn't always determined by the scoreboard, but in how you play the game. You guys are winners, and you are leading by example. Yes, my teams, we got to go to state. We got the wins, and it was great. You guys go to a new high school that they threw into the largest class, and it is going to be rough for several years. You guys inspire me. Cade, every time you step on the football field, you battle other guys that are 50 to 100 pounds heavier than you. You give it everything you've got, every play. And now they are even double teaming you to stop you from getting to the quarterback. That is determination. Danny, going to weights and speed training all summer, the month of July being the only girl there, and going with the guys. That is called dedication. Carly, going to swimming practice at 6 a.m., then going to school, then going to practice, and only being in the 7th grade last year, that is discipline. I am so proud of all three of my children. I hope I can be to you what my mom was to me. Most of the younger kids have a saying, it's called YOLO. You only live once. That's right, you only live once. For an athlete, it is go to school, go to practice, eat, do your homework, go to bed, and then repeat it the next day. You do only live once, and you need to make the most of it. And I wouldn't trade the way I grew up for anything, because I did just that. You would think that at 45, my sister and I wouldn't be that competitive. Well, on the way here, we met up in North Platte, and we're driving together. Donna ended up boxing me in, passing me. So I returned the favor with less than an hour to go, and I beat her to the hotel. Of course, she will say, I didn't know we were racing. Let's see, we still compete at everything we do. Well, I called you first. I got to the farm first. We wonder where our kids get their competitiveness. Thank you, Donna, for being my fiercest competitor, my encourager, my inspiration, my best friend. I always wanted to be as good as you were at running. Because of you, I am who I am today. Thank you again for this outstanding honor. And in closing, my husband always says, be proud of who you are and where you're from. And I definitely am. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Donna Spickelmeyer-Valine. Donna made it twice as difficult for opponents of Hayes Center in the 80s by matching her sister's accomplishments step for step. She too was a 12-time letter winner in volleyball, basketball, and track. She was a multi-time All-Stater in volleyball and basketball and earned a total of 16 medals at the state track meet. She too decided to compete in track in college. She had a brilliant career at Kearney State, receiving multiple All-American honors and set numerous records. Here to receive her award is Donna Spickelmeyer-Valine.
Thank you to the Nebraska High School Hall of Fame Board for this honor. I also want to thank Mark and Nancy Frex again for the time you spent gathering the information from our coaches and teammates, so Deb and I could be nominated for this honor. I am truly honored to be receiving this award, and I am humbled to be in the company of this year's inductees and those that have been recognized in years past. Although there is not enough time to thank every person who has and continues to inspire me, I would like to acknowledge my coaches, teammates, family, and the Hayes Center community. I stand here this afternoon to graciously accept this honor. However, my accomplishments are the result of many talents by some very special people. To me personally, this award represents the spirit and dedication of the individuals that have influenced and encouraged me to do my very best on and off the athletic field. I could never have accomplished what I did in athletics without them. This award truly honors and dignifies their influence on me as an athlete and, more importantly, as an individual. My coaches recognized the potential in all of us and nurtured that potential with patience and expertise. You taught us the strategy of the sport and provided us with the training to be a competitor. You looked out for our needs and taught us dedication and that nothing comes easily. You inspired us to love volleyball, basketball, and track and field. I would like to start off by thanking my volleyball coaches, Gary Hastings, Kate Repass, and Marion Richards. Coach Gary Hastings inspired fierce determination and toughness in all of us. He taught us to go after everything and to never give up. That is what inspired us to come from behind in the conference championship game our senior year against Juanita. We were down 1-14 in the third match. But we managed to come back and keep our undefeated streak alive. We went into the state tournament in 1984 undefeated and ranked number 1. To our disappointment, we lost in the championship game. We recognized that our goal to make it to the finals was a goal too short. We were Class D2 volleyball state runner-up in 1984, but we were not going to make that mistake in basketball. Coach Livingston and Coach Marietta Adams were our basketball coaches. Your ability to take our team and evaluate our strengths and weaknesses and design a game plan that capitalizes on our strengths provided us with 3 trips to the state basketball tournament and the ultimate reward, a state championship in 1985. Coach Livingston knew he was at a huge disadvantage in height. I was the center at 5'7". Well, that was my basketball height. I'm really 5'5½". We made up for our height disadvantage in quickness, aggressiveness, and endurance. 4 of the 5 of us were distance runners. And if a team can't get the ball down the court to the tall girl, then she can't score in the paint. Then if they made the shot, it was a race to the other end. And if we could score before they got down there, she couldn't block the shot. So it was a fast-paced, aggressive game, and I love that style of basketball. I find myself today telling my kids, Tyler and Kayla, if you don't have at least 3 fouls in a game, then you aren't hustling enough. If you foul the shooter, you better make sure they don't make the shot. And finally, you can out-rebound someone taller than you. 90% of getting the rebound is getting in there and getting position. So get in and box out. Isn't that right? Thank you. Coach Rick May, Lana May, Jim Cole, and our track coaches. Thank you for your patience, encouragement, and commitment in helping us become elite runners. You came up with creative ways for Deb and I to be continually challenged in practice. We would run with the boys, or they would give a group of runners a few seconds head start. But if we didn't catch them, that didn't count for an interval. Thank you for teaching us the strategy of racing and helping us to achieve our goals, for your wisdom and expertise in seeing our potential that was beyond what we could see in ourselves at times. To this day, I get a sense of freedom when I lace up my running shoes and go for a run. Thank you for always being on the backstretch, Coach May, yelling words of encouragement when doubt would start to creep in our minds. I will always remember running by the 600 mark during the 800 meters and hearing your voice tell us that we were right on pace. We came away with a state runner-up in 1982 with 4 freshmen and an exchange student making the trip, another state runner-up in 1983, and then 2 state championships in 1984 and 1985. In fact, we almost captured the all-class trophy in 1985 at the state meet with only 4 girls, but we missed it by 1 point. I would like to thank my teammates. What I have learned over 25 years is what we had was very special. To find 5 to 7 girls committed and dedicated to one common goal is a huge challenge. But when you only have a pool of 20 girls in your school, then it becomes an even bigger challenge. We figured out how to be a united team every time we stepped on the court. We encouraged each other when we struggled, and we celebrated our successes because we knew that each and every one of us was a vital part of that success. In 1984 and 85, our senior year, we lost only 2 games, one in volleyball and one in basketball. Thank you to the greatest teammates a person could ask for. There was a slogan several years ago meant to inspire young people and sell basketball shoes. I want to be like Mike. It referred to Michael Jordan and his success. Well, we wanted to be like Carol Nunley and Carleen Erickson. They are the ones that inspired us in our running career. We watched Carol Nunley run at Junior Olympic meets in McCook, Nebraska, where she held all the records. And we were fascinated by her success. But we started to calculate what would it take to beat her records. She was also humble and gracious with her success. Carleen Erickson was another idol of ours. We admired and respected her. She held all the records at the state track meet and was a fierce competitor. I loved competing with Carleen. I knew win or lose, if I was racing against Carleen, I was going to have a great time for that race. Thank you for paving the way and setting the bar high for the runners that came up the ranks after you. Many athletes will tell you that their greatest competitor stares back at them in the mirror each morning. But my greatest competitor stared back at me from across the breakfast table each morning, my twin sister, Deb. Deb provided me with determination, strength of mind, and sisterly friendship that inspired me to victories and renewed my determination with words of encouragement when I went through defeats, like our junior year, when she beat me in the 800 meter, took my record, and captured the all-class gold. Her talents were my inspiration. I remember waiting along the fence with Deb after that 800 and watching each of the races go by. And after the Class A championship champion crossed the finish line, we celebrated because we knew Deb had just captured the all-class gold. I knew then that I could win one too, and I wanted to win one in the mile. But my favorite race of all time is the same one Deb talked about. It was our senior year in the 800 meters. And of course, the race started out as it usually does, and I lead for the first 400. But she passed me that time right at the 400 mark. And we battled down the backstretch, and we would go back and forth. They didn't know who was in the lead. And we could hear the crowd cheering. And the announcer said, "Bring them home, they're on record pace." Well, I made a tactical error that day and ran on the outside of the last curve and didn't have enough to hang on. So she got the record, and she got the all-class gold, and we ran 2:13. But that race put me in the right mindset for the mile, my fourth event and final event of my high school career. And I was going after my goal. I wanted to break the 5-minute mile and capture an all-class gold for myself. And I did just that. I ran 4:58. That record stood at the Nebraska State Track Meet for 25 years. Thank you, Deb. You are my best friend, one of my fiercest competitors, and you enthuse me with words of encouragement and healthy competition. Discipline and hard work are the bridge between goals and accomplishments, and my dad taught this to me every day with his work as a farmer. A farmer's work is never done, and there are no weekends off in farming. The discipline and hard work carried over into my life and training as an athlete. He also taught us that hard work could be fun. We would race to open and close the gates on the irrigation pipe. We would race to pull all the pipe apart at the end of the season. But the biggest test of our running came when moving cattle. Deb and I were running, and we had to keep the cattle out of the fields, open fields between our place and the pasture we were moving them to. That pasture happened to be 5 miles away. My dad taught us to not be squeamish or timid, but instilled determination in us. Thanks, Dad. As Deb said, Mom was our first track coach, but she also provided the most important quality to our success. She was a pillar of strength and virtue. She modeled dignity and courage through her daily routine, and we were fortunate enough to observe these wonderful qualities. Her courage taught us and motivated, and thoughtful advice has proven many times to give us strength to endure challenges on and off the field of athletic competition. She taught us to embrace life and its challenges. She taught us to see life through the windshield and not through the rearview mirror. It is hard to believe that she has been gone for over 20 years. She would have been so proud of us today. With our focus on the windshield, I would like to acknowledge Jim and Ida McBride. Thank you for allowing our dad, Russ Spickelmeyer, to adopt us when we were 8. That was a huge sacrifice to allow someone else to raise your children, but being a Spickelmeyer and growing up in Hayes Center was a very rewarding life. Thank you for your persistence with sending birthday cards and Christmas cards every year since Mom passed. And like my former mother-in-law said, Emily Valine, you can never have too many people in your life that love you. I would like to acknowledge my children, Tyler and Kayla. I hope I can be everything to you that my mom was to me. I hope I inspire you to be your best, to face challenges head on, to set goals and be committed to obtaining them. I want you to know that I'm extremely proud of both of you and your achievements on and off the fields of athletics. You are growing into amazing young adults, and I look forward to celebrating all of your accomplishments. I hope I can take the wonderful opportunities, enthusiasm, pride, determination, and motivation that I have been privileged to receive from so many special people and open the doors of opportunity for Tyler and Kayla, and I hope they can reach the fullest potential. I love you. Finally, a quick acknowledgement to Dick May, who was an avid track fan in Hayes Center, Kent May, the best starter at a track meet ever, Joe Nitch, our school custodian and grounds person. He made sure we had the best cinder track. He made sure that our gym was always open at 6 a.m. and ready for basketball practice, and he was also a timer at all of our meets. Mark Frex and Steve Hoagland for their I Missed It Sports edition for the local newspaper, Times Republican. Keith Burkett, the Hayes Center sports announcer for all sports, and Omaha Burke High School teacher Jill Garlock. She embraced our success at the state track meet and handed Deb and I all of our medals. Also, If you've ever witnessed a state track meet other than Nebraska's, you would realize how special Nebraska is with their state track meet. They run a state track meet professionally, efficiently, and you walk away from a state track meet competing there and have the greatest feeling that you have competed with the greatest athletes. So I'd like to thank the state track meet for what they do. I would like to take a second to congratulate Coach Morgan. He hired me to be his 7th grade coach my first year of teaching, and I had 36 amazing young ladies to work with. Congratulations to Coach SCHOENFISH. It was an honor to work with you at the Great Plains basketball camps for all those years. And on behalf of Hayes Center, my teachers, coaches, teammates, and competitors, and my family, I am truly honored to accept this award. Thank you.
The Nebraska Football Hall of Fame. Torzan also had a solid professional football career, playing from 1960 to 1966 for 4 different teams in the old AFL. In addition to his 6-man football contributions at Platt Center High School, Torzan was also a standout in basketball and track. One feat of note, he once had a 46 consecutive free throw streak. Here to accept his award is Laverne Torzan.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank the Nebraska High School Football Sports Hall of Fame for receiving this award. And I'd like to thank my wife, my daughters, my brothers, and the rest of my family for being here today. 63 years ago, I was a freshman in Platt Center High School. I never played any organized sports before I went to high school. I was born and raised on a farm. So I went out for freshman football. As I practiced, we practiced not very long every day, but on this particular day, we practiced longer than usual. And I had no ride home, so I ran home 2.5 miles. When I walked into the milk barn, my dad says, "Laverne, you're late. What are you going to do, eat that football?" And surprisingly, I played football for 17 years, and I never did eat that football. My career in high school as a freshman was limited. As a sophomore, I played end. As a junior, they switched me over to running back. We played a football game toward the end of the season where North Bend High School and Platt Center were undefeated. There were 8 seconds left in the game. We were behind 24-22. So I got the ball. I threw it in the end zone. Our guy caught it. And the North Bend guy knocked him back to this 8-inch line. That's where the referee spotted the ball. Unfortunately, we couldn't challenge and we had no pay-per-view. So that was our defeat, our only defeat of the season. As a senior, our football team was average. I played basketball. As a freshman, I made the varsity basketball team. It's kind of hard to believe for a guy that never played basketball before. As a sophomore, I averaged 18 points a game. As a junior, 22. As a senior, 26. We played a game against Humphrey St. Francis one time when I was a senior. St. Francis had a center that was 6'6". And my coach told me, "Laverne, go to the free throw line and see what he'll do. If he follows you, you should be able to work your way around him." Well, apparently I did. I scored 36 points, and Humphrey St. Francis scored 32. So that was one of my highlights of my basketball career. There's one thing I had in high school that I'm quite proud of. I consider this a trifecta. I scored 46 points in football against St. Edward. I scored 46 points in basketball against Monroe. and I made 46 consecutive free throws in game competition. I'm really proud of that. So what was I going to do after high school? Nebraska had a spring game where they invited all potential freshman football players to come to the spring game. We had hot dogs and pop, and after the game, everybody went home and nobody talked to us. So the first day of fall camp for freshmen, there were 110 freshmen out for football, of which 6 were scholarship players. The coaches went down the line, they talked to every player, they finally get to me and they say, "Who are you?" I says, "I'm Laverne Torzen, I'm from Platte Center, and I played 6-man football." "Well, what are you doing here?" And I says, "I'm here because I want to play football." Well, he says, "What position did you play?" I said, "Running back." He said, "Running back? Forget it. You're one of the biggest guys along this line. You're going to play in a line." Well, in a line I played, and apparently he was right, because I played there for a long time after that. Well, anyway, in my first game as a sophomore against Iowa State, I finally got to play. I rushed the passer, knocked the ball out of his hands, picked it up in the air, and ran for a touchdown. So that was something that really happened that was good. 1955 and 56, I made All Big 7. I received the Tom Novak Award. I was inducted into the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame later on. And my pro football career started in Buffalo. I played there for about 2 2/3 of the season when Lou Saban decided, "I better trade you. You're not helping us." But unfortunately, he never even talked to me when he traded me. So in 1963, the Titans became the Jets, and I played under Weeb Eubank. And in 1965, I played with Joe Namath. I was picked up in the expansion draft in '66, and I played with Bob Greasy. So I played with a lot of stars in my later years. My football career ended in 1966, and all I can say is one thing about sports. There's one thing that you should always get as a player in sports is a competitive spirit. This competitive spirit not only helps you in the sport that you play, but it helps you in life after the sport that you have completed. So I really can't complain about that. And what else helps you in sport? Where did I learn to shoot that basketball? On the hayloft on the barn. I practiced at night after practice. I made sure I made 100 free throws out of 100. That's how I became a good shooter. So what this does all mean, practice makes perfect. And that's part of sports. In closing, I wonder how many of you watched last night's football game. It's too bad that the 1936 Grand Island defensive team couldn't play last night. And finally, there's one thing I will never forget. There is no place like Nebraska.
I understand that Laverne will be making an appearance at the watering hole all this week. Before I get to the anniversary teams, I just want to let you all know that today's event is being recorded, and if you would like a copy, just contact the Nebraska High School Hall of Fame. And if you're not sure how to do that, Google it. If you're not sure how to Google it, ask your grandkids. Annually, the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame honors a silver anniversary team or teams to honor achievements by a high school team 25 years ago. This year, we honor silver anniversary teams from 2 high schools who competed in the 1985-86 high school seasons. Our first team being recognized is Atkinson West Holt boys basketball team. The discussion will always be out there. Could have Atkinson West Holt have competed with the top teams in Class B and Class A? The 1988 Class C state champs dominated the field that season with a 24-0 record, led by All-Staters Bruce Chubbuck and Chris Peacock. We will never know the answer to that question for sure, but the speculation will have to suffice for now. Here to serve as spokesman for the Atkinson West Holt boys basketball team is Bruce Chubbuck.
Thank you. You actually get a little bit of a tag team because both of us are going to speak really briefly. Thank you to the association for the recognition for the team. It's very much appreciated. When I got the notification from Pat that they were honoring this team, I was like, the math has to be wrong. There's no way it's been 25 years. That's impossible. And one thing that I did make sure of, my present players at Omaha South, I made sure that they didn't find out that a team I coached 25 years ago was being honored, because they already think I'm older than dirt. And that would have definitely confirmed their thought that I was getting up there pretty old. I'm going to introduce the players that are here. You know, just like everything else, our kids are scattered all over the country. Kids tend to do that as they grow up and move away. The first guy is my son, Bruce Chubbuck, who played at the University of Nebraska after he left Atkinson West Holt. Had a pretty good career at the University of Nebraska, and now is my assistant coach at Omaha South, and he's glad we finally got some big guys there to work with. The guy in the middle is Joel Heller, who started on that basketball team, was a very important part of the team, a fierce competitor, and we sure wish we would have had him the next year. And the big guy on the end, Jamie Luber, was actually our post player on that team and had a great football career, starting tackle at the University of Nebraska. Jamie, they could have used you last night. What happened to the tackling? You should have, you definitely could have given some pointers, but it was a great team, and I can answer the question. This is be my 42nd year coaching. I've been fortunate and blessed to coach from the Sandhills of Atkinson to the cornfields of Iowa, and now I'm back to the inner city of Omaha, where I actually started out. I can tell you this, good players are good players, be it inner city, Sandhills, cornfields, and great teams are great teams. It doesn't matter where they come from. And I can tell you that that was a great basketball team. I've had some really good ones since then. That team would have competed with any team that I've coached since. When we went to the bench, it might have been a little bit tough, because the big schools, you have great athletes and you have a whole bunch of them, which makes it a little bit different. Last thing I'm going to say, the 24-0 was great, but I think it takes a lot of years to find out if you've really succeeded with kids, if we've hit a home run as teachers, educators, coaches. What I look at with these, what kind of men did they turn out to be, what kind of fathers, what kind of husbands, and I think mission accomplished. I think it worked out pretty good, a good group of kids, and what they did was fantastic. And I'm going to turn it over to my assistant coach.
Fumble. I don't really have a whole lot to add to that, except my wife said before I came up here that we needed to say something funny to keep the people interested. So I'm going to tell you a funny story about that team. Obviously, it was a good run the whole season long, but when we got to the state tournament, we had a difficult game in the state championship. And were ahead by 17, 18 points at one point, and the other team came back and cut the game down to just a few points. And I think it was 6, 7, 8 points at the time, and we get a technical foul called. So my dad looks at Jamie, who was the captain, and says, "Jamie, get over here. What's the technical about?" He says, "I don't know." So he grabs me. He says, "What's the technical for?" I said, "I don't know. They said it was on Peacock." Chris Peacock, my teammate, who's not here, had bounced the ball off of the guy's head from the other team. And my dad said, "What were you thinking?" He said, "Well, I didn't mean to let it go. It just slipped." So that's my funny story. Other than that, there are two guys here, superintendent who was really vested in the team, and Pat Miller, who was the assistant coach. And we could go into funny stories all day long about him. But thank you again for the honor. Congratulations to all the other honorees, and thanks for being here.
Our next silver anniversary team is the Cambridge football teams of 1987-88. Considered one of the top football teams of all time in Class C2, the Trojans had a perfect 13-0 season in 1987. They capped off the year with a dominating performance over previously unbeaten Norfolk Catholic in the C2 championship game, 30-0. Here to accept the award for the Cambridge football team is the head coach of the team, Bob Fuller.
Good afternoon. It's a privilege to be here to be the spokesman of our 87 state championship team. And there's a lot of thank yous that I would like to pass out of people that are not here. You know, back in '84, Jim Tenneper took a real gamble on hiring us to coach this team. And I have to thank him for the opportunity. I have to thank him, Don Stein, also our principal at that time, who has passed on, also our Board of Education, for giving the opportunities of what we needed to do to try to turn things around. We've talked, Coach SCHOENFISH talked about the fact about Cambridge being a football town, but I'll tell you, it's been very rich in tradition in all sports, and certainly the Board of Education gave us that opportunity. And I can't say enough about the parents. The parents are so supportive there, and also, you know, community. And I don't think that there's any other small town in the state of Nebraska that is more supportive and has had as much success as Cambridge High School has had over the years. Here today, you know, really before I introduce all these guys, and you know, we met last night, a few of us, and we talked a little bit, but you know, I have to say, as I introduce them, I'm going to try to remember what positions they played. So if I mess up, you guys let me know about that, okay? But one thing about this football team, they started back, and you know, not all of them are seniors here today, but they started back setting goals and then also getting real involved in our weight program, and that was real vital to getting things turned around, because previously, these seniors that are here today, previous to that, they'd won the football teams, three teams previous to that had won one game, and that was by a forfeit. So they had a tough road to hold, and this team worked very hard. You talk about perfect practice and perfect play. That's what they believed in doing, and they were probably the hardest hitting football team that I've been a part of being able to coach. And we always said that we didn't have to see a good hit, we could hear it. And we heard a lot of them during the time these guys were playing. But they certainly put forth the effort, the time, the dedication, and certainly had the passion to play the game. And I just feel privileged of being a part to be able to work with them. I'll start here introducing Coach Moe. Coach Moe has his jacket on. He's still able to get into that, even though it's been hanging in the closet for 25 years. But Coach Moe, step forward there, please. Coach Moe is a graduate of Cambridge High School, and he handled our defense, and I'll tell you this, and I mean this, there's not a better defensive coach in the state of Nebraska than him. He knows defense, he knows how to keep it simple, and be successful in doing that. Coach Bill Shoemaker, Bill is also a Cambridge graduate, and Bill came and started working with us, what was it, second year, I think, that we were there, because this first year was just Jeff and I, but Coach really added a lot. Both these individuals knew the kids and knew the community and how things went, and that was real important, I know that. A couple other people that helped with our program, Johnny Johnson, late Johnny Johnson, who was our junior high coach and helped on Friday night, just a tremendous asset to have. Also Terry Paisley was our assistant coach, and we probably had the best trainer in the state of Nebraska. And then Jim Jones, he's not here today, but one thing about Jim, he's probably the only, and I always got worried about this because he always took care of the kids, but I always got worried when he asked them how they felt, because he was the local mortician in town. And but he was a great asset to us. So starting here with the players, and I asked him to step forward. Mike Harris. Mike played offensive guard and linebacker for us. Shannon Brodden. Shannon played offensive tackle and defensive tackle for us. Rick Sayer played offensive guard and defensive end for us. Troy Paisley. Troy played tight end and played linebacker for us. Don Hosick. Don played running back for us and played in the secondary for us. John Dutton. John played tight end and played defensive end for us. Sean Johnson. Sean played nose guard, played offensive guard for us. Then we got Jim Shoemaker. Jim played quarterback and played in the secondary for us. Doug Whitty. Doug played flanker for us and played in the secondary. J.F. Hoffman. J.F. Hoffman played quarterback for us and defensive end. And Trevor Kubik. Trevor played fullback and played linebacker for us. And on that football team, Trevor and JF and Doug and Sean were all state football players. And JF was C2 Offensive Player of the Year, and Trevor was C2 Defensive Player of the Year. And, it's really, it makes a coach, after so long, a lot of kids you work with will come up and say, hey, I call you by your first name, not these guys. They come up and they say, Coach, how you doing? That means more to a coach than words can express. And so I feel an extreme honor to work with everybody here, and I congratulating them on being the 25th Silver Anniversary team. I want to also thank the Nebraska Sports Hall of Fame for choosing them and voting on them, and congratulations to all other inductees today. Thank you very much.
If you think I was going to try to cut in that line, you're crazy. Well, each year at these ceremonies, the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame honors a golden anniversary team or teams to make sure a significant achievement by these teams 50 years ago is not forgotten. This year, we're honoring two such teams from the 1960-61 school year. Our first team being recognized is the North Platte football team of 1962-63. Previous to the 1961 team, North Platte had won a total of 11 games in 5 years. But in Coach George Crump Redding's first year, the Bulldogs picked up a Big Ten Conference championship. Then came the magical season in 1962 when North Platte became the undisputed Class A state champions with a perfect 9-0 record. Here to serve as spokesman for the North Platte football team is team member Larry Waholtz.
I'd like to start by thanking the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame for voting us in as one of the Golden Anniversary teams. There were a number of things that led up to us winning the state championship in 1962, and I had a few stories to tell, but I've been ordered to make this as short and sweet as I can, and so I'll obey that and just touch on a couple of things. Probably the most critical thing that happened leading up to our state championship was in the summer of 1961, the North Platte Board of Education was looking for a new football coach. And it happened that one of the board members was an acquaintance of the head football coach at the University of Kansas. And his name was Jack Mitchell, and he was an excellent football coach. Kansas was kind of a powerhouse in those days in the Big Eight. At any rate, the individual's name from our Board of Education was Harold Kay. And he called his friend Jack Mitchell and told him that we were looking for a football coach in North Platte. And so immediately upon learning that, Jack Mitchell started talking about a football coach that was from a little town in central Kansas called Larned, Kansas, and his name was George Crump Redding. And he said, this guy is an excellent football coach. He said, don't let the size of the town bother you if you think that you want to offer this guy the job. He said that as small as Larned was, they had won the state all-class football championship 2 or 3 years prior to that. And he said he's such a good coach that whenever Crump Redding, this individual's name was Crump Redding, he said whenever he calls me and tells me that he's got a guy that can play football, he said we ask 2 questions. We ask what their name is and what their address is, and we send them a scholarship. He said this guy has sent us some really good kids. So the Board of Education contacted Coach Redding and had him come to North Platte, and they got him hired. And North Platte had been a town that other teams really liked to come and play because they could normally shove us around and leave with a W. But when Coach Redding arrived, all those things changed. Coach Redding had a philosophy that if you could block and tackle better than the team that you were playing, chances are you'd probably win the game. And I want you to know that from the very first practice that we ever had until we graduated in our senior year, every night of practice you had live blocking and tackling drills. And it was shortly after he got there, after, maybe 5, 6 weeks, we found that fundamentally we were a pretty good football team. And we started to win some football games. And as was mentioned earlier, in Coach Redding's first year, we won the conference championship, which hadn't been done in many years in North Platte. And in Coach Redding's second year, we won the state championship. And I know that there's probably some of you sitting out here today that are thinking, well, you know, maybe they won the state championship, but there was no playoff system in effect in those years, and that's true, there was not. It was kind of up to the newspapers to choose a state champion in all the classes, but all the newspapers in the state pretty well named North Platte the state champion. But to be honest with you, I really don't think it would have made any difference who we played or where we played. And that may sound a little bit self-centered, but I want you to know that off of this team, there were 5 individuals who went on to play Division I football. And I'd like to introduce those people to you here. I'd like to recognize them. First one would be Jim McFarland. Jim, take a step forward there. Jim played 2 years at Nebraska, started at an end position, went on to play professionally for the St. Louis Cardinals and the Miami Dolphins. The next one would be Bob Roberts, who isn't with us. Bob died in a car accident several years ago, but Bob was probably the meanest and toughest individual I ever played with or against. Bob went on to Southern Illinois, where he became captain of their football team his senior year. And the next individual is Pete Tapman. Pete's not with us today. Pete's vacationing in Europe right now. But Pete was an all-state fullback who was highly recruited by everybody. Went to Nebraska and played 2 years, started 2 years there. And Pete is still recognized as being one of the best blocking backs to ever play for Bob Devaney. Pete went on to play professionally for the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. As for myself, I was an all-state quarterback. Started 3 years as a defensive back at Nebraska, 2-time All-America. And the next individual, the last individual, is a guy by the name of Bob Thomas. Bob's got quite a resume. Bob, take a step forward there. Bob was an all-state receiver on our football team, went to the Air Force Academy where he played football and track. Upon graduating from the academy and giving his time back to the military, Bob entered the business world where he eventually became president and CEO of Nissan Corporation in North America. Bob is retired now, and he recently wrote a book that chronicles the life of Coach Crump Redding in our championship football season. So for those of you that like to read, when you get home tonight, open your Kindle up or turn your PC on and go to Amazon.com and order yourself a copy. It's a great read. Just a couple more things here. I would like to recognize some individuals that have come today. My wife, Vicki, and her good friend, Jane Alborg, that lives here in Lincoln. I'd like to recognize Jim Kirkman and his friend, Carolyn Gilster. Jim come all the way from Virginia to be here this weekend. I'd like to recognize my son and his family, Chad and Rhonda. And my daughter, Wendy, surprised us by showing up this morning. She flew in from Pennsylvania. And I'd also like to recognize the 4 most wonderful people in the world, my 4 grandchildren, Carter and Charlie Waholtz, and my 2 granddaughters, Hannah and Haley Barnes. Just one more thing. When I was inducted into this Hall of Fame in 2003, I had talked to some of the board members in regards to taking a look at getting our high school football coach, Crump Redding, into this very Hall of Fame. And apparently there's some bylaws that says that you have to have coached for a certain number of years or you're not allowed in. Well, we would like to have you take a look at your bylaws and maybe either amend them or make an exception in Coach Redding's behalf. If any one individual belongs in this Hall of Fame, it's George Crump Redding. I can assure you that none of us would be standing before you today if it weren't for him. And so if you could give it a little bit of consideration, we would appreciate that. Again, we say thank you very much.
Well, our next golden anniversary team being honored today is the Omaha Tech boys basketball team. In the 1962-63 seasons of the Class A field was loaded with teams like Omaha Central, Creighton Prep, and of course Omaha Tech. Tech lost to Central and Prep during the regular season, but got revenge over Prep with a win in the state final to finish as state champs with a 22-2 record. That team was loaded with talent, but 2 names any Nebraska high school basketball historian will recognize are Fred Hare and Ron Boone. Here to accept the award is Jerry Mosser, son of head coach Neil Mosser.
I guess the first thing I should say is to be politically correct, I should say, I'm Jerry Mosser and I approve this message. I'd like to introduce my wife, Gloria. She's in the 44 years. I also would like to step out in front of you. I had to buy a brand new pair of shoes, and she said, I told her nobody's going to see them, but so today, here's my shoes. So. She insisted on a new pair of shoes. This group right here, a lot of them are, a couple have passed away, and but these are some great guys right here that played some great basketball. And a lot of people out here sitting right now remember this group. A lot of coaches, for an example, Bob Whitehouse, who played at Bellevue. There's a lot of great people in this room right now that watch this team play. My dad was a Marine, very tough, demanding. He expected excellence, and he told everybody, we had 2 All-Americans, Freddie Hare and Joe Williams, and he said, you know, Freddie and Joe can get 20, 25 points a game, that'll give us 50. But without this other group here, we'll never win. And he said, each one of these people out here contributed to our program. We were in a tough city league. For example, at South was Marlon Briscoe and the Vincent brothers. Bob Churches and Rookie Taylor were at North High. Wally Anazumas and Tim Pugh were at Prep. And Central had Armstrong, Cribbs, and Nelson, which were outstanding players. So some of the older people that were during that 60 generation would know how good these people were. They just made us better. They made us better players. They made us strive to win. And with my dad's coaching ability, and we became 22-2. The people that I have up here right now is, if you'd step up, Don and George Swanson. They were our trainers. With both of them, they were a pain in the butt, both of them. But they went through that whole year with us, and without them, we couldn't have made it. John Farmer, Mr. Knock you down and pick you up and didn't care if you were the coach's son or not. He would knock you down and then he wouldn't even pick me up. John Mackey, a great player. He filled in and just did a great job for us. Now, before I go too far, let me go back. John Farmer brought his family. They're out here, his wife. And Mackey brought his wife too, so I got to introduce them so I don't get in trouble. All right, and Harold Crow, he's the other guard that won many ball games for us by shooting free throws. All of them contributed to our program. And it's a great honor to be here to see all the people that were inducted today. They're great athletes. A lot of them talked about what they did and to become great athletes. They were on the farm, they were on the city. We didn't have anything when we were kids. The black and white TV just came out. I remember having a refrigerator with ice in it. So all we did was have time to play sports. And that was the big thing. And that's what these people up here did to make a good program out of Omaha Technical High School. So I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank all the honorees. And I'd like to thank my friends here for letting me play on a state championship team. Thank you very much.